We on?
Yeah, we're on, dude.
This is live.
This is it. This is official.
Happy to be here, man.
Same, dude. Thanks for coming. I'm super pumped to talk to you because we've been having some really good conversations recently.
Very juicy.
Yeah, and it's funny. We've said it multiple times, because I've been talking about doing this podcast for quite a while now, and just never finally pulled the trigger on it. And it's like, man, at the end of a long phone call or something, it's like, dude, we should have had the podcast going right now. We should have turned on the microphones, bam, let's just keep talking.
Right.
Yeah.
But either way, it's doing it for different reasons. But as long as we're doing it, I think that is having the discussions, digging deeper through the concepts, and helping each other through the shit. That's the important
This
part.
podcast is just the cherry on top of the relationship that we have and the awesome conversations that we have together. So
Yeah, 20 years from now, let's put it in the calendar after this and say, look at the video, and then we'll know what we once were.
How cool. So, damn, there's so many ways we could start this off. So first of all, for everyone out there watching, listening, my name is Ben. This is my buddy, Ronaldo. Would you like to just introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name's Ronaldo. Come from second grade with Mr. Ben Ranley.
Yeah, man. Back Parkwood Elementary.
Yeah. I think, just a premise. It's a pretty meaningful conversation whenever, me sitting down with Ben. As always, he's a cool human that usually pulls a lot out of people. But I think for me, it's always good to talk with you. So I'm excited. It's just there's nothing else I'd rather be doing at this point in time. So I'm happy to join just to talk, and then hook it up to the whole podcast setup is pretty cool. So I'm excited to see what we come up with. Do you want me to go into our backgrounds, or do you think that's a little...
Yeah, just give us a... I actually prepared a little mini document.
Cool.
So let me see what I got here.
A quick note, actually, yesterday I was listening to a podcast, Tim Ferriss, and he mentioned Shaun White and different people, the narrative they play in their head before they go do something that's in front of a lot of people and they have to perform. And all I took away was he was just saying how Shaun White apparently says, who fucking cares? Who fucking cares? And then he just hypes himself up like that to just I don't care if I win, I don't care what people think, just fucking do it. And I thought that was a pretty cool way, you know what I mean? Especially when your nerves can get to you or whatever.
Yeah.
Just
maybe we should I think that's a really good way to just go about life in general. This idea of doesn't matter. It's almost like being stoic, right?
Right.
Stoicism.
Yep.
Whether it's something good or something bad that happens, I'm kind of indifferent to whatever happens. Nothing affects me being centered and, just one with nature, essentially.
It's a good place to get to. Yeah. Not easy, but
it takes a lot of work for sure.
Yeah, that, and then I think there's also a balance of it to who cares, right? But then you also have to watch and be aware of your surroundings. Well, if there is someone that cares that you're affecting or really is expecting something from you, or even your own expectations, you just have to be aware of those, because you don't want to just totally stoic out and ruin relationships or not serve yourself. So yeah, it's a balancing act, of course.
Totally.
So yeah, it's interesting. But that's how I'm not on camera or audio often, so
yeah,
there's a subtle nerve, tightening thing. But
do you feel your heart rate has escalated a little bit, and you can just feel your breathing a little more or anything?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah,
you're just more aware of this area.
Exactly. Cardiovascular system's on fleek. It's little.
Yo, is this a stressful situation? Should I run? Should I be afraid? Or is this cool?
I know. My hand clenches back towards my pocket knife, and my
Expect someone's about to pop out the closets.
Yeah, I have no idea what's. Is this an ambush? No.
Yeah, dude. There's hidden cameras everywhere. These actual cameras. These are just to distract from what's really happening.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good insight of the whole. You called out what you thought maybe I was feeling in my body. And I was like, damn, you're on. Yeah. Interesting. The biological indicators, right?
Just take a really deep breath and take it in your stomach.
Guttural.
Not in your, yeah.
Nice.
So I think doing that stimulates your vagus nerve, which I don't know much about it. I was reading something about it in a book the other day.
Vegas?
Interesting. Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Except it's spelled Vagus.
Oh, I get crazy when I hear about Vegas.
Vegas, that's getting me excited.
Yeah, do you know where that's at in the body?
Not entirely, but they're saying, I guess it shit, I shouldn't even really talk about it.
Okay.
But
Well, yeah,
it's good
to look up, right?
It's good to take those deep breaths to like calm yourself and just feel more peaceful and relaxed.
Yeah. Well, like I was telling you right before we turned this all on, was the shallow breathing is something I've formed over many years, and it's just like I'll catch myself all the time, just like short breath. I almost used to like pride myself on it when I would go run like long distance and stuff, and I don't need to breathe deeply. I don't get high hyperventilation, and then so it was good for that. But then now in my daily life, it's like fuck, you're not breathing. Okay, there you go. But have you ever heard of the box breath, by the way? Kind of similar to what we just did there. We were out at Electric Forest, and actually Josh Adams, who brought that up. When you're on different substances, you might feel some anxiety coming over, and you're like, all right, just breathe. You did the box where it's like you breathe in for 4 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4 in. Then you hold your breath in for another 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, hold. Then you exhale over 4 seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, X, and then you hold your breath exhaled with nothing in your lungs for 4 seconds. So it's 4, 4, 4, and you just repeat. So in, hold, out, hold, in. And so you keep doing that, and it really brings you to that moment and like gets rid of the like, if you're feeling anxious or stressed at the moment. So
yeah, dude, I am reading. That is really awesome. And that's something I want to start trying. So it's like a 16-second period of time.
Yeah.
Inhale, hold, exhale, hold.
Yeah. So not different than what we just did, but some more structure in there and maybe a little more lengthened thing, which good or bad depending on your situation, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
I think on the exhale, that slows your heart rate down. Like inhale might increase your heart rate just a smidge. And the exhale. So if you do a longer exhale, I've read, it's actually more beneficial for calming you down.
That would make sense. A lot of the yoga and stuff I've done, they've said that, like, or in through the nose. Damn, it's like you hitting a joint or like
wow, I
feel
like I just hit something. Yeah,
Even better.
You bring some of those CBD joints?
Fuck. No. I thought about it, and then, my rush state, I did forget.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, next time, dude.
Be enjoyable. Yeah.
What is it like smoking a CBD joint?
It's real weird. I think if you've ever smoked weed, which I know you have, and for anyone else, it's like here's a spectrum of all the things you experience on weed, from the body, kind of intensity, maybe your mind's going here and there, a little relaxation, a little happy or, stress. I get anxiety sometimes, but either way, if you were to pop down and pick out like maybe 30 or 40% of those like specific effects from THC dominant, bud that you smoked.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that. Like you're like, oh wait, am I high? Is this the same thing as I always feel? And then you're like, but no, I'm not, like my brain's not scattered mind. You keep a lot of the clarity in your mind, which is for me the number one thing. Cause I would just get high and kind of feel like, oh, I can't hold conversations and I'm lost and I'm just like, where am I going? And it's good if you're laying in bed and you want to think about shit and let your emotions out. But CBD is a lot better if you're if you're with people or you're doing something personality type shit, So
totally.
Yeah, I'm a fan.
Nice. I think I've determined for myself as well, and I've known this for a long time, but just recently I've almost like, okay, this needs to be a rule or a principle in my life that I just don't smoke when I'm going to hang out with people.
Nice.
Because I'm almost useless because I'm so wrapped up in my head and my own thoughts, and they're having a conversation, and it's like I'm trying to stay with them, but then my mind starts wandering, and I'm like, wait, what did you say? And so I just can't stay, like, it would just like negatively impact our bond and our like social connection because my mind's just not there.
That's a good call.
So smoking by myself though is highly beneficial for me.
Yeah.
So the other day I went for a bike ride. So I got a newer bike, as you know. Oh my God, dude.
Sexy beast.
It is a dream. I love riding that thing. I'm really getting into like riding.
Good.
And it makes it, all the more better when you really like, man, I feel like this bike is like a Ferrari to me. From what I'm used to riding, going from that to this is just huge upgrade.
The proper ride, man. Like you said, the love, you start feeling just in love with that experience. That's good, man. I'm happy that you've gotten to that point now, because riding a shitty bike is the number one thing I hear from friends where it's like, I don't know, it just always break it down, it's squeaky, it doesn't go smooth. Dude, game changer,
when
right?
When you have a nice bike, it's game like, changer. Holy shit, I had no idea it could be this nice. I mean, I knew, but I've never experienced it.
Yeah.
But I smoked a little weed, and then I went for a bike ride. And I have these like wireless earbuds, like, Bluetooth that I pop in, and I'll like listen to music or podcasts or whatever just when I'm commuting. Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna listen to anything. Just me with my bike out in nature, and I'm like tackling these big hills, and I'm just, riding past areas where there's like deer, like, you know, in the yards. And
Wow.
so there's like, there's really beautiful areas right around here in Bellevue and Dayton. Like, but man, I feel like I generate so many awesome thoughts and ideas. You know, of course I'm high as well. So it's like every idea is just like profound.
Yeah.
But I make a note as well. I made this a new habit of keeping like a thoughts notes in my phone. So just any thoughts I have any day, I just label the date at the top in the morning whenever I have my first thought, and I just like keep collecting them. When I smoke, I tend to write a lot.
Right.
It's like there's so much happening up there. It's almost like I need this like release. I need to let it out.
Do you go back through then and try and filter those thoughts, or what's your process?
Do from time to time. Right now, I'm just in a collection phase. I started this at the end of, I don't know, was it May? So I've been doing it for over a month.
Oh, nice. You probably got a lot in there, huh?
Yeah. So I definitely still need to go through them. But even just the act of writing it down, sometimes I'll remember it later, like, oh, that's right. I made a note. I want to do this thing, and now I have an opportunity to do it. And I think, why wait? I'm here. I can do it now.
Yeah.
And so I just do it.
Huh.
But
what kind of thing? Do you have an example?
So I've been also taking some videos while riding my bike. Because just like rolling shots, like I'm rolling by kind of slowly, and I just pull out my iPhone and I'll just get like a rolling shot of like nature or trees or some neighborhood or just some view that I think is really beautiful.
Yeah.
And in the end, what I want to do is I want to create a video of all these different shots of Bellevue and Dayton and Cincinnati area, Newport and Covington, and maybe put some of my music to it. So I create like a music video, kind of cool. You know, I have like some springtime, summertime shots.
Yep.
It's kind of sweet. But I thought like, okay, the train just passed here. I want to come back here and like get a video of this train coming by.
Nice.
And I was like, wait a minute, the train's still going by and I'm right here. Like, but just the thought of it, like, oh, do this thing. Or even like, somebody recommended a show earlier in the day, and then later in the evening, I was like, I think I'd like to watch something, which I don't do much anymore. But I was like, I'll watch something. I was like, oh, that's right, you recommended this thing. Like I write recommendations now that people give me. They recommend a book, they recommend a movie. I actually write it down. Otherwise, I hear it and I think, oh, that sounds awesome. I'll check it out.
I'm gonna remember this for sure.
You do, it's gone.
Right.
If I don't write it down, it's gone.
Yep. See, I feel like that's really good practice. And then for me, the part where I'm really weak is the after of that, of like taking all the stuff you've put down, organizing it, and actually using it. Because I get a lot of anxiety of like, I know I wrote down that movie, and now I can't remember it, and I don't know where it's at. So it's like, if you can keep that organized and reference it, that's
so if you're doing, I completely agree with you. And if you're doing something like what I'm doing, then it is crucial that you either weekly or monthly, or maybe even daily, depending on what you're doing, you review it. And you like catalog and organize it, whichever system you have. So I started using Google Drive and, just organize everything really well so that I can just easily search for things, or it's just the folder structure, the tree structure makes sense.
Yep.
So yeah, I agree. Otherwise it's just, I wrote a thing on a piece of paper over here, and then I put a thing in this note over here, and then I have something in this document in the cloud. Yep. And then it's like, screw it all, man. It's just too much to deal with, right?
Dude.
If you neglect it for too long.
The tender for notes. I've said like, right. I think a good app that would bring up notes that you've written down maybe a week or even a few days after you wrote them and say, is this still good, or is this just a high thought that you don't care about? And then you have to swipe, delete, or keep. I don't know. I feel like that's an interesting, because me managing notes is, and same for Caitlin, she's expressed this a lot. It's like somehow to organize notes is just is a thing. So
I think it becomes a problem when you start entering notes into different applications or different software programs that aren't all connected, right? So if I'm just using just like the notes on my phone, then it's no problem, because that's the only thing I ever do. But if I'm also writing on, like, I have a little journal that I like write in, analog style.
Yeah.
Or I have like, a different document on my computer that I'll like type notes in, or I have this over here. Then it starts getting chaotic, and it's like, how do I organize all this?
Yeah. I would say even for me though, is like, I'm not even that functional. It's just, I have them all in one place, and I'm just like, don't ever review them until I'm like sitting there like, oh, I have an idea, and then I pull it up. So I'm always inputting and never like processing and outputting on the notes side. So yeah, it's, I don't know. I got to figure that out. Once a month might, first day of the month, like you're saying,
calendar,
might make sense.
Calendar event, bam, recurring.
Yeah. Also a quick note too, legal team, he's not always gonna smoke weed and shoot video while riding his bike. So delay the publishing.
Let us cut this part out. Yeah.
Cut this part until your shit goes through.
No, in that particular instance, I was coming home from work, and I never do any drugs before going to work.
Fair.
Except for legal drugs like caffeine. Not alcohol. I don't do that legal drug.
Alcohol, yeah.
Of course.
Probably ibuprofen, popping 4 or 5 of those a day.
I ate I crush them up and then I snort them.
Yeah, yep.
I did eat an edible, like a cookie, before going into work once.
Really?
And I didn't really know how potent it would be necessarily.
Like a THC, just to be clear. Okay, yeah.
Yes. And I got there, and it didn't hit me for a while. And so I got there, and I'm hanging out with these people, and I was like, the vibe here just feels weird. Like I was just picking up the vibe, and I was like, maybe I shouldn't have eaten that, because I feel like now I'm being weird because it was just not good.
Transference.
It wasn't terrible. Like I made it work, but it would have been better if I was just sober.
Yep. You're more susceptible and vulnerable to other people's energies when you're altering your mind chemistry, it seems. In general,
totally.
Right? Yeah.
Also, as well, I think because you spend most of your day sober, most of your life sober.
Uh-huh.
So that mental state you're very familiar with. You know how to like direct yourself, or like, I'm noticing certain thoughts, and maybe I want to, like you know how to manage your sober mental state very well because you're always sober.
Yeah.
Once you're doing these drugs that you don't do necessarily all the time, you're in a mental state that you're not used to handling near as often. And so you feel like you yourself are unpredictable in your thoughts and actions, and you don't know how to process things near as well as if you were sober.
Yeah.
But if you smoke weed all the time, for instance, use that as the drug for this scenario, then it's like, I feel like great. I know how to use my mind in like whatever situation I'm trying to do, because I'm always in this smoked out state.
Yeah. You've had a lot of exposure to that, and you've set your boundaries within that mental sphere. So would you say for someone like me that gets a lot of anxiety when smoking weed, do you think I just need to do it a bunch of times then work on my anxiety while high, and then
Yeah, I think that would help.
I'll be good?
I think smoke a little by yourself and just chill, and just view your thoughts as they come and go down the river of your consciousness, and just address it and be like, impartial observer, right? How all these meditative practices that people recommend. Like, don't judge it. Don't judge the thought. Just be like detached from it.
Just be with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
View it
truly.
and just let it go, and just like, that's interesting. That my psyche just thought that. Interesting.
Yeah. That's how I am in normal day-to-day life, but then the weed just like makes it this like monster that I can't control very easily. So yeah, I guess it's like starting over. It's like me becoming a child again emotionally or something.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. So yeah, I guess Goggins would say 100 mile, boy, go straight for it. Maybe I should just go get high all the time and just like until I'm over my anxiety, just like blast into it.
Dude, maybe you should. Do you ever get high and then work out?
I go running high and it feels fucking awesome. So maybe that's the answer. Yeah. Lifting weights scares me. I was a little high one time and it was like, I could drop this large metal plate on my face. So I don't like being high. But,
that sounds a little scary.
But yeah, running, dude. I know a lot of people that run that they get fucking blasted and just like float. Like you can run like hours and you're just like, it feels so good. You're just like thinking. So.
Yeah. I think if you're doing something where it requires your full attention when you're smoking, it's awesome because you have like hyper focus on whatever the task at hand is. Or I think you're capable of it more so. Yes. But you're also capable of, if you're just sitting there, it's like the filter's removed and all the thoughts are just flowing in all at once, and it's just like overload, and
That actually might pertain to someone I know. That's an interesting insight. Yeah.
So for me, when I went bike riding the other day, I smoked a little weed, and dude, you mentioned Goggins just a second ago. I tell you what, man, I've been thinking a lot about David Goggins recently. He is such an inspiration to me.
Please tell me more. I got upset yesterday, so.
You got upset?
Well, yeah, I told you I listened to a podcast with Goggins on it because I wanted to get more, and the podcast people who, the hosts, we'll call them, they were barely that. They just kept going on and bantering, and they just weren't pulling the good stuff out of Goggins. They weren't asking the right questions. They weren't keeping it on track. So I would love to hear from your perspective, even just key points of like, okay, like his ethos, I guess. Or
yeah. So he had a really rough childhood, and I read his book, Can't Hurt Me. Highly recommend it. I got it from the library, so if you don't want to spend the money, get it for free.
Well, that's true. Is that his only book
I believe so.
Okay.
It came out in 2018.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so you hear he writes out his entire backstory. And his dad was really abusive and, beat his mom and just like terrible person. But he's a businessman. And he's one of those guys who, everybody loved him. And he's like, just like
funny.
Yeah, whatever. Like he got along with people. He knew how to play the game. So he's like totally like a psychopath, sociopath, whatever.
Yeah.
Just didn't care for his family. Just viewed them as like.
Oh, the dad is, you're saying?
The dad.
Oh, okay.
The dad. The dad was just terrible. And so he dealt with a lot of trauma, and then and he also had trouble in school with learning, because trauma impacts your brain from growing in a healthy way, and when you're that young, and so he had trouble like learning and retaining things, and
he did say he had a learning disability, and he didn't go into it on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But he also mentioned in school. I just want to make the point because I hadn't heard this on the Joe Rogan version, but that he was like a funny kid in school. Like he wore his pants backwards, upside down, a toothbrush in his mouth. And he stole my idea, or I guess he invented it.
A toothbrush in his mouth?
He would wear a toothbrush in his mouth.
That wasn't in the book, I don't think.
That's what he said. And then he would shave his head. I've talked about this before, like leaving the sides and the back like bald, and then shaving the top of your head so you look like an old man, like balding. He said he did that shit in high school. I was so impressed. I'm like, okay.
Dude, he sounds like, is it what, Jamie Oliver? Or Oliver Tree.
Oliver Tree, yes.
Tree, yeah. Not Jamie Oliver, Oliver Tree. That's fucking sweet, dude.
Yeah. And that's where he says, like, now some people will comment, you're so serious, man. You never smile on a podcast. And he's like, dude, if you only knew me back in the day, like, he used to use humor and comedy to, like, cover up his insecurities, is what it sounds like.
Yeah.
And I come from a similar background, being a fat kid. Like, humor is how you get people to like you, right? Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I don't know. I just want to throw in that point. I didn't realize he came from this, like, funny, silly, goofy dude to, like, how intense he is now, right?
Yeah. So. Well, he didn't feel very secure in himself. Like low self-confidence, low self-esteem. Felt like he didn't fit in anywhere,
Yep.
He didn't feel comfortable in his own skin. And with a child, like he had, it makes sense. Like he didn't get like the love and support that he needed from his dad. His mother was great.
Okay. Well, that's helpful then.
Yes.
So he's not completely broken. Just
totally
fucked up enough.
Just broken enough to be like one of the top achievers in the world. Yeah.
That's the secret formula.
It's Uberman shit, man.
Yeah.
Overman. Yeah.
There's something there.
So we were talking about Goggins. What were we saying exactly?
You covered a few points of him. He's just like hardcore go-getter, right?
Yeah. So what happened is at a certain point he realized like, yo, man, my life, is this what my life's going to be? He's spraying for cockroaches, making $1,000 a month. He's like, at almost 300 pounds, eating, go to the store, get a big thing of donuts, eat it on his commute, and then get a milkshake on the way home. And
Jesus.
And just like the state of his life was not great. And he saw this like commercial on TV for, I don't know if it was the Navy SEALs or Marines or something like that.
Yeah.
And it was inspiring to him. And at a certain point, there's some switch in his head that he just flipped and is like, dude, this isn't me. This is not how I'm going to live my life. And he started working out like a madman. And he lost like 100 pounds in 3 months in order to qualify to enter into some military
Marine
service.
Training camp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Interesting.
So yeah. And then he just, basically in his book, I was sitting here in my apartment reading his book, and I am laughing and I am crying and I'm feeling all the spectrum of the emotions.
Wow.
Because dude, and the way he writes too, it's like pretty, it's like in your face. It's graphic too. He tells stories about how he's running like 100-mile race with no training beforehand. Just like, oh, I'll just show up and do it. And then by mile 70, it's like he's broken like bones in his feet or like shins. He's like, and then he has another 30 miles to do. And at the end, he does another mile just in case, because he didn't know if he did 99 or 100. So he did 101 miles on like broken feet, broken legs. And he's like, pooping himself at the end in the seat because he can't move.
That's
it's just
honorable,
like,
dude.
He is he like tortures himself. He basically tortures himself. And his whole thing is like, yo, man, suffering. That's the way through. And so that's what works for him. It's just like ultimate suffering and pushing himself to the brink in order for him to like escape his demons and like be, evolve into this new person that he wants to be, someone who can handle anything in life. So
is it like that existence is less painful than his like, his current state? Is that?
I think so.
That's insanity. So I don't think I have a fucked up enough background.
Exactly.
I'm not that destroyed.
And he says that he's obsessed. He's driven.
Yeah.
And I don't want to be that obsessed. But if I'm ever like riding my bike, or if I'm ever doing something in life that starts getting a little tough or a little hard, I ask myself, WWGD, what would Goggins do? And dude, I want to get some merch or something. Like, what would Goggins do? Like, write a rap song that I can listen to while I ride my bike. Like,
Yeah.
David Goggins, and just goes in. That'd be sweet.
Get your man, Goggins. That's interesting. The one thought I had yesterday too, and I'm not saying this is true, but going to the moon. Some people have said it happened in a studio, right? What if Goggins this was his narrative and it never all happened?
He made it all up.
I mean, I've never seen him run. I'm sure people have, and he has a lot of people that vouch for him. But I just think it's interesting of like, we all respect this guy and look up to him based on these stories of like broken feet. Well, your grandpa told you, I walked 4 miles with my wieners, dragging on the concrete. It's like, damn, grandpa, that dick.
Is that long, grandpa?
It was scrapey, yeah. So, I mean, but that's my point. It's so interesting. My brain always like counter, devil's in the details, but what was that called? Where you devil's advocate, right? What if he's just bullshitting? Because I don't know. Like, I think me and you are very similar in that realm where we're like, let's not destroy our fucking bodies. And I think if you, I'm so overcoming willpower. Well, you're fucking forever. You break your bones and they heal not great back, right? Like he broke all of his feet for one, 24-hour race. I don't know. Like there's some conflicting rationale for me.
Agreed.
So.
I would never do something like that. Well, because I'm reading this book right now called The Telomere Effect. And did I already mention this to you maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
You sent me a little
I like to
excerpt,
talk to
but it
people
was
about the
juicy.
books I'm reading, not because I want to seem pretentious, but because when I talk about it, it's like teaching somebody something is the ultimate way of learning it yourself.
Yeah.
When you can take the information, synthesize it and process it and like give it to somebody else and explain it. So that's why I like doing it. Yeah. And it's fascinating. I like talking about this stuff.
I appreciate it, but you should at least know if you told me about it before.
I know, right? I tell everybody.
Put it in your notebook.
Everybody I know, they'd be like, oh, yeah, I know you're reading that book, Ben. All right.
Jesus, telomere, your fucking telomeres are fried out, bro. But yeah, go ahead.
But so they were saying in there, it's good to stress your cells in your body, just like exercise.
Right.
You're stressing yourself. You're ripping muscles. You're like, but that's good because it makes you more resilient. But there's a fine line between stressing yourself a little, like just enough, and then stressing yourself too much. Mm-hmm. So when I read some of Goggins' stuff, I'm like, yeah, he's definitely like hurting himself. Because if you go too hard, there's these cells called progenitor cells that will they basically will pump out other cells to like repair your body, like cells that are damaged. But if you go too hard, those like mechanic cells, those repair cells get damaged, and they can't like properly do their job. You know what I mean?
Because they're the output for
they're
them.
They're the ones who come in to like fix things once you've like stressed it. But if you stress it too hard, even they get damaged and they can't do their job properly.
What's it called?
Progenitor, and I believe it's progenitor cells. There's a few different cells they've been talking about in this book. This book is super awesome, dude. So good.
I'm intrigued, man.
And it's saying all the things that we already know you should be doing. Like eating healthy and, omega-3 fatty acids, fish, to say you eat fish 3 times a week. I bought some seaweed snacks. They recommend eating half a serving a day. Just things that are good for yourselves, drinking water, things that aren't inflammatory, like, limit your alcohol use or like peanut oils or anything that's not great. Processed foods, eat raw foods. Mm-hmm. Don't think negative thoughts. Your cells are listening to your thoughts. They can't differentiate between, like they're just feeling the emotions associated with the thoughts you're having. So if you feel like negative, bad, like gross emotions, that's how your cells are going to feel. Or same with positive thoughts. All your positive thinking and like channeling these calm, like healthy, positive states of mind, that's great for your cells. They're listening, dude. They feel it.
It's true.
There's healthy social connections. Like, so all the things like, good sleep. We already know all this stuff. But it's cool seeing it from the lens of your telomeres.
Dude. I didn't want to totally distract, but I forgot last night there was a podcast with a girl named Amanda. Fuck, I forget her name. She's an artist. And Megan knew her when I brought her up. She has super deep emotional insights. But she brought up this book called Why We Sleep. And with you talking about sleeping so much. Okay, so
I got that book from the library, but I got like 10 books all at once. And then someone put it on hold. And I'm like, no. Because it was like one of the books I was most excited to read. I've been wanting to read it for like a couple of years now.
She was saying like, I bought 10 copies after I read it, but give it to my friends. I want everyone to know. And she was talking about this whole idea of like how in like the top civilized world I live in today that I don't know about this stuff. It's like such an epiphany of thought that you just haven't known about your entire life, and then you read something like this. So she was hyping it up. I thought of you talking about the sleep all the time, so I'd be interested to read it too. So
me always talking about sleep. This guy who wrote this book, Why We Sleep, his name is Matthew Walker, and I heard him on NPR one day. I was like on Terry Gross. He was being interviewed.
Fresh Air?
Maybe.
Ooh.
It might have. It was. I don't know if it was that or not, but it was some NPR program.
Got it.
Maybe it's even like that Cincinnati one, the local one. Maybe.
Ooh.
I don't know. But he was talking about sleep, and it was hitting me hard. Like, oh man. And he talked about 6 different ways to improve your sleep, and the top one, if you only follow one of them, consistency.
Yep. Schedule.
Your body has these natural circadian rhythms. It knows, all right, time to wake up, time to go to sleep. And if you're working a 9 to 5 job, and then on the weekends you're staying up till 3 a.m, getting blacked out drunk, like by the time you're recovering at the end of like the next work week, you're doing it all over again, like getting totally off your schedule, your body's natural schedule. So yeah, man, sleep is super crucial for your health.
I know Jordan Peterson goes into that a lot. Like I keep seeing this YouTube video where he's just like, if you haven't gotten a regimen, just schedule. Wake up at the same time every day. If you haven't done that, do it. Nothing else matters if you don't do that. And it kind of ties to that whole idea.
He's right, man.
Yeah.
It's important.
So,
but here's the thing for me, if I hear these things, I'm one of those people where I feel like in order to truly understand it or truly incorporate it into my life, I need to understand why. I can't just get the do this thing because it's good for you. Like I need to know my telomeres and and psychology, and I want to know all the facets surrounding it.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that gives it more weight than just having all these aspects?
Other than just I go to sleep at the same time just because Jordan Peterson told me to. He said it was important. I just trust him. I need to know why it's important.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's hard for me to stick with anything.
Interesting.
Unless I really fully understand it and I understand all the implications surrounding it. That's just the way my brain works.
I'm very similar. Do you think majority of people are this way or not this way, or?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because we always talk about, a lot of people like to somewhat blindly follow basic instruction and stuff to just ease their cognitive burden and not have to decide what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And maybe, a lot of people, Jordan Peterson says this. Okay, I do it. So I don't know. It's just interesting to think about that because I'm the same. It's I have to, and not only do I have to understand why, but I also have to experience it and then be like, okay, what I thought was going to happen happened. Before that, I don't believe in it. So for me, it's always a personal experience sort of thing. So I need to get regimented, sleep the same exact schedule for maybe 2 weeks. And I want to see how I feel personally.
Yeah.
Maybe I feel like dick. It's dude, you need to go out and do a binge on coke. And
your body,
blackout.
Your body needs that erratic sleep schedule.
Maybe, yeah. But you're probably right. It sounds about right. And I hear this reoccurring idea with the circadian rhythm and all that. So
yeah, man, it's important, dude.
Let me note that.
Yeah, I like it, dude. Tell us a little bit about this little journal you have here. I mean, I already know a little bit about it, but I'd like for the people listening and watching to just know about this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I guess this habit started in college. But in between a digital full Google Docs, as you mentioned, I love Google Docs. And then a Post-it note is something like this. You carry it around, you always have it. And like you were saying, if you put a lot of stuff in the same place, you know where to look. And I think that's the number one benefit I got from this was I have my journal. And I've never lost it. So it's not, if I did, it'd be okay. But it's probably my 4th or 5th one just like this. But dude, I mean, this actually goes in the last probably 2 years. It's just random shit. And I'll go 6+ months and not use it at all.
Yeah.
And then I'll pick it up and do it. So it's just from preparing for job interviews to I had a meeting with John Francois. That's interesting, right? So it's just keeping notes for small moments in time. I wouldn't say, but then I keep them all, and hopefully one day in 20 years maybe, I'll go back and just look through and just remember all the things that have happened. It's cool. So
yeah.
But as I embark on my trip coming up, I'm thinking about getting specifics, maybe smaller journals for very specific things and keeping them separated. So as you'd recommended to me, a gratitude journal, which I think is a really good idea. I kind of want to just have that on its own. So it's clear if I'm not updating it, and then it's a stream of information.
I have mine just sitting right there on top of that subwoofer.
Oh, nice.
So I just wake up, set my feet on the ground and grab it. And it's first thing, write a few things.
In the morning.
Yeah. And just start my day in this mindset of gratitude.
Good.
And then I end the same.
Okay.
Right before bed, last thing I do.
How full is that puppy? Is it?
When did I start it? I think I might have started doing it in February. maybe.
Oh, okay. A few months.
Yeah.
So assuming, do you date each day, or do you just
I
keep
date
adding?
each day,
Okay.
and then I write like just like maybe 3 or more things, and then at the end of the day I'll just do like a little line, just like separate between like morning gratitude things and then like evening.
Yeah.
Just like for the future when I look back, like, okay, as I was going to bed, this is what I was grateful for on this date.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's that important or not, but
What
just how I
kind
do
of
it.
things are you noticing? Like, is it a tangible effect on your life or subliminal?
Well, I think so. I've heard that starting off your day, like the mood that you start your day off in, like kind of stays with you or carries with you through a lot of the day.
Interesting.
So I think if you just start in this mindset of like, wow, like, man, life is good. Like I have this awesome bed. I'm waking up and there's just all this sunlight streaming through these big tall windows. I'm like, damn, I live in such a beautiful area, and like this is my life, and it's just so peaceful and quiet. And so I'm starting off my day just thinking about things that make me happy, and just, I don't know, just being in that mindset is great.
Good.
So yeah, I'm definitely more content and happy just as my baseline in general. Since
Okay.
I've started doing this and like other routines as well.
Good. Okay. Well, that is something I aspire to have. A good days end on end and on end, and then also just overall happiness. So, and that's the hard part, because like I said, I need to like see a tangible outcome from an input usually to like believe in it. So it's like I gotta, like scientific method, like eliminate all other factors, variables, right? And then that is one variable. Do that for a while and then see. So with time, one thing at a time. I can't do my sleep and then do the gratitude at the same time, or who knows? It could be.
Dude, baby steps. So in preparation for this talk with you, I was like, okay, what are some things? Because, I told you, because I've been wanting to do this podcast for a while.
Yeah.
And a reason that we had not done this for a while is because you wanted to know, like, what's the theme? Like, what are we going to talk about? Just like, I want to be in this headspace so I understand, have an idea of
Where to go
where
with
it's
it.
going with it.
Correct.
Right? Instead of
Yes.
just like this amorphous blob where we can go anywhere. I'm over here. Now I'm over here. Now I'm
Well,
over
knowing
here.
us, we go everywhere. So that is the thing. I
Right.
wanted to make sure.
And yeah, I know. But I'm glad we're just doing it, just like shooting from the hip.
Yeah.
But I did take a few notes in preparation, like a few things I wanted to ask you or a few topics I wanted to talk about with you.
Yeah, definitely.
And also, so I know you're going on this journey soon. Mm-hmm. And I would like to talk about that a little bit.
Cool.
And I also took some notes on, because I went on a similar journey. Even though I really didn't go anywhere, like I just stayed here in Bellevue in my apartment.
Yeah.
But I did an internal journey of myself and like a journey of transformation.
Yeah.
And I wrote down everything that I did,
Oh, very
that
good.
I changed. Like I just thought back, and dude, I got a long list. It's like, wow, I made a lot of changes in my life. Like you don't realize until you start writing it down.
Yep. Good.
So we can review some of those if you want to hear some of those. But before we get into that, I would like to hear about the journey you're on, the phase of life that you're in, because you're in a transitional phase right now.
Correct. Yeah.
And I would like for the people listening, and also for me, just like let's just hear about like the journey you're about to embark on.
Yeah. And for future Ronnie too, right?
Future Ronnie, dude.
I wanna know about this later. Yeah, well, I think when we were trying to I felt bad from kind of putting that pressure of defining a theme or a direction.
You shouldn't feel bad about it.
Well, I don't feel that bad, but
Yeah.
I just want to respect your
Well,
intentions.
and then for me, like it'll eventually get a theme.
Yeah.
But I'm a perfectionist, and so I call myself a recovering perfectionist. And so I'm trying to break myself of like I need to have everything figured out ahead of time, and I want it to be perfect, and I want to like A+. For anything I do, I want it to be an A+.
It's debilitating.
And it's like, yeah, and so it's like I overanalyze and overthink, and then I just don't do the thing, and I'm like, dude, screw it. Let's just get together and talk, and like I'll figure it out. And
Well-
yeah, so that's like how I function. Like I'm trying to break myself of this bad habit
Yeah.
of perfectionism.
No, that's good. This is a good first step then. And I guess where I was going to go with that too, is basically me going on this journey, what you've just brought up, this planned trip and the journey I'm in right now, very similar to something you've done in the recent past. So I've talked to you a lot. We've talked a lot around this. And basically, regardless of what we tried to talk about here, I'm guessing like this is where it was going. The ideas in the periphery around this whole like figuring out our life and all that, right? I mean, where else do you go anyways? But we're not talking about new makeup stuff or
Maybe we
Vogue
should.
magazine.
Sponsored by what makeup company?
K. Every kiss begins with K. No. Bling brought to you by K
Yes.
Jewelers.
Buy some diamonds, folks.
Yeah.
They're not. The price isn't artificially inflated or anything.
No, there's no blood on those diamonds.
No,
they clean it
it's
off
legit.
with alcohol. Anyways, so yeah, I'm in a transition period. You more recently went on the similar path of going from highly stressed, overworked, not sure why you're even doing it sort of realm, if I'm paraphrasing, but maybe you agree with that. And then you kind of just decide you got to make a change, and then you come back into normal, some sort of balance of, okay, I have time again for myself. I'm getting balance back. How do I want to live now? I have a new chance to kind of live, and I have my time back. So for me, I really need like a bookmark or like a line in the sand, I would say, to kind of define the different periods of my life. So for me, I've roughly planned out a 3-week solo trip to go and just spend time with myself and basically be away from a lot of stimulus to kind of dig deeper, as you were mentioning. And so for me, one of my biggest weaknesses, I think, is attachment to other people. Even though I'm a very independent person and I love being alone, I live with someone, I have friends. I don't spend a lot of time alone thinking as much as I would like to. So that's the main purpose here. I'm trying to leave, like you're saying, a lot of the pressures and expectations from it away. I'm trying to leave those off of the plan and just say, if I come back, as long as I did these 3 things, which is like 1, be alone and be with myself, I'm successful, right? Or whatever the other objectives are that I'm still finalizing. But it's hard, man. I'm getting all these ideas. Oh, I'm going to be out in the woods. I could do this. I'm going to go mountain biking, and I'm going to go visit people because I'm near them. And I have to just, my main goal is to try and stop this whole like idea of more, and just like feel some good solitude in the less alone, simplistic, just being. So that's the main goal, is like take 3-ish weeks of just like, of course, 3 weeks of slowing things down and just being with myself. But of course, trying to change my diet and get back on a, more consistent and healthy relationship with how I consume food. Social anxiety is something I've had for a long time that I want to try and start working on while I'm out there. But like I said, too much expectations could ruin it all. So
Yeah, you might feel overwhelmed, like, oh, this is too much, and you're trying to do change too quickly.
Yep. I got 15 or so books. I'm like, I'm going to take all these and read them. And I'm like, nope. Like you guided me, like, let's eliminate most of these and just take like 4 to 6 maybe is realistic. Max. Yeah. So yeah, that's the plan for the trip. And having you here, who's gone through a similar experience in the last less than a year, right? 6 months ago, it began, or no?
A little over 6 months at this
Probably
point.
9 months ago.
Yeah.
Very helpful. And so, yeah, I guess if you want to pop into yours and kind of review and just highlight your experience, I'm totally open to hearing that.
Well, because I know we got together recently and we were talking about this independent journey you're about to go on of self-exploration and, diving into the innermost of your being and trying to figure out like who you are and, what changes do you want to make in yourself and, what direction are you going in life? And so you asked me some of the things that I did, or like, what are some things that I tried, or what changes have I made? And I just kind of came there and I was just like, oh, I have this and this and this, but I actually like organized my thoughts. So let me just tell you, I won't spend too much time on these.
Sure.
So a few things that I already had going for me. This is like
Gratitude.
Well,
Meta.
Here we go. My parents. Everybody, as a parent, they don't necessarily do everything right, but they do as best as they can, hopefully. And my parents, they gave me some like really good base programming, like be a good person and be kind to others, and and do well in school, and we've high expectations of you in certain areas of life. So like I already had that going for me.
Yep.
In my early to mid 20s, I'd already looked into like a lot of awesome topics. So I started looking into like evolution, the universe, like the nature of reality and space, religion, philosophy, psychology. So just me diving deep into that stuff for years, I think was just really updating the paradigms in my mind about how I perceive reality and how I think about myself in relation to other people and the world and all this stuff. And that was hyper beneficial for me.
So you crack that egg open, isn't like having taken time on those thoughts kind of already primed your mind to level up. Yeah, that makes sense.
Another big one was weed and psychedelics. Huge. I mean, I don't even know if I need to really go into that. Like, you already understand.
Yeah.
Life-changing. Utterly life-changing. For people listening who've never done either of these substances, I would recommend learning about it and seeing if it's right for you. Don't ask your doctor, though. Your doctor will say no because your doctor doesn't know what's up. But anyway, moving on.
There ain't no money in those drugs. I can't sell that shit to you.
Okay, I worked a desk job, and I realized I didn't want to spend my life in a cubicle. That was huge. That's a huge realization.
Yeah, wow.
International traveling with you and some other good people. Life-changing experience. It was super beneficial. Starting a business with you and my brother Philip. Awesome. Learned so much. That was like a college degree right there. Discovering minimalism was huge for me. This idea that you don't need material possessions, right?
Yeah.
Dude, it's all about experience, man. That's like all life is. Living on my own, huge. Just leave it at that, dude.
Wow.
Like, not having somebody there to influence you and like really being able to like curate your environment and like
this is one I don't connect with you on. I've never had that experience. So one thing I'm thinking of is this 3 weeks alone is similar to that. But to your point you were just making, and sorry to interrupt.
No.
But like curating your space and controlling your time and your space. It's hard when you're out. I'm going to be out camping and just, hammocking and hang out in the woods. If there's any aspects of that you think I could still capitalize on while I'm alone, I'm open. I'm curious to know. So just a thought for probably later. But.
Nice. Because I know for me, that was huge. That's probably one of the biggest ones, honestly, for my like self-development is when I lived entirely on my own. There's like, no one's going to be just showing up at any point in time or interrupting me. It's like, I am here on my own. Like, I'm in full control of my life.
So if you blow 3 days doing shit, you can't blame anything else.
Yeah.
So it's like clear.
Yeah. And then I became hyper aware of how easily we are influenced. Because sometimes I'd spend days in here by myself, like not hardly talking to people, which probably wasn't great for my mental health. But I did it anyway. So, and sometimes it was needed. Sometimes it's like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
But even just watching YouTube videos or reading books or whatever I did, I would notice later on in the day how those were like still up here, and like, thoughts would come up. And I'm like, why did I have that thought? Like, oh, because I watched this thing and I read this book, and like those two like things merged and intersected, and I had this like little baby of those two ideas. I had like a new baby idea.
I love that experience. That's like such a good feeling.
But when you're constantly getting so many inputs all the time and you're being overloaded, it's hard to even like know where like your influences are coming from. You know what I mean? So it's cool to just be able to like slow it down and like live on your own pace, on your own timeline.
So would you recommend, based on that premise, that maybe I shouldn't read books even for a certain period of it? Like I should eliminate all outside stimuli?
Possibly. Maybe you start off for like the first 3 days, no inputs other than like nature and your thoughts and journaling. And that's it. No reading anything, no looking at your phone. Maybe like check it once in the evening just to respond to like any text messages that are important.
Yeah.
Or emails that are really important. But otherwise, like you have it on airplane mode the entire day. You turn it off airplane mode for like 30 minutes.
You think 3 days is a good amount of time for that?
I mean, it's all subjective. I think 3 days is a good amount of time.
Okay. Yeah. No, just
3 days alone, just with your thoughts and like no stimulation other than nature, like taking walks or just being that. I mean,
it's going to be hard.
That's going to be hard. 3 days will be hard, especially when you're used to like pulling out your phone and watching, cat videos or Goggins. Yes. So yeah, I think that's a good way to start it off.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's great advice. I am trying to figure out where to do it. And I mean, you recommended before reading and doing all the other stuff, take the time. And I was at first arguing that. And then I think, if you start with all the other shit, you could never stop. And then the trip will be over. And so I agree. Start with it. Okay.
And you're kind of priming your mind for the rest of the experience. Like whatever happens at the beginning, it's like you're priming yourself. So if you read a book about a certain topic, it's almost like the rest of the experience is kind of going to be tinted, or like it's going to like infiltrate into everything else that happens afterward. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's like you're putting on a different filter with that information you consume right at the beginning. So yeah, I think it'd be good to just like detox 3 days.
Start with a good setting for my trip, right?
Totally.
Which
It's all about the set and setting, man.
yeah, cool. That's a very practical, useful point. Thank you for that.
Definitely, dude. All right, moving on here. I'm very willing to try new things and get out of my comfort zone. Neophile. And I think you're the same. You like new things. So I think that is really beneficial, especially in this day and age when everything is changing so rapidly. And
Yeah.
so I think you and I are always going to be able to adapt really, not easily necessarily, but like we're going to be able to adapt with whatever comes.
It'll be interesting to see when we get old, because I look at people who get, much older, 70s, 80s, and there are very few people that are like great with dealing with the new world as it is today. There are a few though that are really good at it. I'm like, man, I want to be that old person.
It's inspiring.
So I hope, it's very inspiring. And it's like they're still living life. They're still just doing the thing. And it's sad to think that all the other people really just kind of aren't. They're not living. They're just existing. And I know quite a few people who are just waiting for their death.
Damn.
And yeah,
dude, if I'm ever at that point, just kill me.
I will.
Bro,
We've talked about this.
I was thinking on that note, something else I started doing and I haven't finalized it, but I'm going to do it this year, is create a living will.
Yes.
And a last will. But a living will is like power of attorney. Like, if I get in a car accident and I'm like kind of in a coma, there's already instructions laid out for whoever's going to be, the person carrying out my wishes, like whether it's Philip or you or like whoever.
Damn, that's deep.
That'd be important though.
Yeah.
It would suck if like, there's no power of attorney. They have no living will, so we don't know what to do. So, Philip, it's all up to you, man. You make all the calls here. And that's like, oh my God, I don't want to like be the one to like say, pull the plug on my brother. But if I already have it in writing, like, if I don't wake up after 3 weeks, let me go.
True. Philly, send me and I'll pull it.
Yes.
I'm the same though. I do not want to live
dude.
When I'm not truly alive. When I'm truly alive, but I'm not truly living. I agree with that.
I want to have
sentiment.
a good quality of life.
Correct.
If my quality of life is terrible, dude, what's the point, man?
Oh. The afterlife's about to be dope as fuck. So
yes, I've been there a couple times.
Have you?
Ego death. Oh shit, I'm there.
Well, you like spiral down the tunnel and then then you get pulled back up though, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm excited, but that's a good point. And just to be clear, are you still in the category of things that are going good for you?
Yeah, things that I've already had going good for me even before this like recent journey that I went on.
Cool.
This is funny looking at now, but I'll say it anyway. Being very extreme and descending into the depths of hedonism. That sounds like a negative thing, which isn't necessarily negative, but I was very hedonistic for a while. It's like, drink all the alcohol, do all the drugs, get all the pleasure, and I'm happy I had that phase because I felt like I needed to get it out of my system.
Yeah.
Like I just needed to experience it.
You had to.
And by experiencing it, I've now realized that that's not what life is about.
Right.
But if you're told that, it's not the same as actually emotionally feeling it and like going on that ride. So that was cool. So yeah, I've been ever since like 18 or maybe like 21 years old, I've been experiencing new things. I've already said this, and self-growth. And then meeting you and Philip, having you guys as close friends has been like crucial in my development as a human being.
Good.
Yeah, dude. I mean, honestly, so I hooked back up with you when I was 21 when I moved to Cincinnati.
Yep. 21.
Dude, where would I be right now if I hadn't met you? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But
probably see that curb down there? See that 48 the brown bag? Yeah. No. I mean, likewise, same for me, man. I mean, since summer of 2012 where everything kind of changed. That was our Goggins moment, maybe in a different direction. But yeah, I mean, just the development of my humanity has just blasted off. So
yeah, and it was great. Like you were a role model for me, especially when I first came to Cincinnati. It's like, man, Ron is just like a social butterfly. He has all these friends and connections. He's always doing cool stuff. He's in like cool things. He's like a funny, just like good guy to be around, good energy. And I felt like really thankful to have you as a friend and like be a part of your life. And that you felt the same about me. I'm like, this is so sweet. It's reciprocal, it's a mutual feeling. So yeah, I mean, I'm super grateful to have you in my life and to have you as an influence in my life and to have shaped me as a human.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, definitely, dude.
I'm happy to have been able to do that for someone. That's fucking powerful. Mm-hmm. So yeah, good.
So I had all that stuff already going for me.
Yeah.
So like, I was doing pretty well, to be honest with you. As far as, from my own opinion.
Yeah, I never would have even thought of to start there. Like, the gratitude thing must be working for you. So thank you for going through that list. Even shit that like I wouldn't say invalidly twisted into a positive, like the hedonistic thing. But you're so right? Like when the Amish come out and they just like fucking rage because they've had a prohibition on all the things that society says is good, then they go crazy, right? And some of them never come back. The fact that you've gone through that cycle and then you say, okay, I know what I want out of it, and I'm not a slave to the hedonism. That is power. That's fucking power, man.
Yeah.
So, very cool.
So yeah, I feel good to be on the other end of it. Like I'm like, not that I've arrived, because I feel like you never arrive in life. You're it's always like getting better and better and like growing. But yeah, it's good to be on the other end of the hedonism at least. Yeah, it's not what life is about.
But if I'm gonna arrive 5 to 10 minutes late. That one's for you, Megan.
Hell yeah.
If she ever watches this,
oh, I'm sure she will.
Appreciate that.
I'm sure she's gonna watch every second.
Yeah.
Hey, Megan. Anyway, moving on. All right, so here are the things. So now we're actually getting into the meat and potatoes of the recent journey I went through and all the transformation and changes that I went through.
So how would you categorize this?
So, okay,
section?
So let me give people listening a little bit of background about what was going on. So Ron and I started a business with my brother Philip, and we've done it for a couple of years, and I realized at a certain point, like, yo, man, this is not what I'm meant to be doing with my time and with my life. I felt like I wasn't as happy as I used to be, and I felt just stressed, and I felt like I was just like running in place. Like I was running around frantically and like getting nowhere. And I was ready for the next phase of my life. And so I realized that, oh man, like what do I want out of life? So I started off with creating a vision board. I was like watching YouTubes to get some inspiration and like see what other people have done. And a vision board is really effective. I never actually created the physical board with like, you're supposed to cut out pictures of magazines and then put those on the board so you can actually see that like visually with your eyes, see what the thing is you want. Like, oh, I want to live out of a van someday. So there's like a cargo van that's decked out and there's someone chilling there like in the woods with their van. Like you'd put that on the vision board. Yep. I never actually did that, which I should have done. I just wrote out lists and I would just like sit there and like meditate and just think about the things that I want and visualize myself already having them.
Okay.
But that was crucial, just knowing like, where do I want to go? Because if you know where you want to go, then it's not that difficult to get there. Problem is a lot of people don't know where they're heading. And so they're just doing things just because, there's outer expectations placed upon them. Like, oh, I got to go to work and, make the monies because I got to pay the bills on my house. And it's like, you're doing all these things, but it's like, where are you going in life though? Like, what's your purpose?
Yeah.
What's your objective?
It's a big question, man.
What are you trying to attain? And so I wrote out like a list of short-term goals, long-term goals, dreams, things that are like a little more difficult to achieve. And maybe I'll never even strive for them, but it's like, oh, if I could do that, that'd be so awesome. That'd bring me such fulfillment in life.
Yeah.
But then I also like wrote out a list of my values and like, what are my values? And if I don't have certain core values that I think are good, how can I install those values into my psyche as like programs, So I basically decided I'm going to do a lot of work on myself because in order for me to achieve what I want out of life, these long-term goals that I have, this vision of my life in like 3, 5, 10, 20 years, I need to do a lot of work on myself.
Well, before you move on, I just wanted to kind of go back a little bit because I think I have a harder time with that whole bigger picture purpose, and not because it's like, oh, I'm not sure, I don't know. I know a lot of people are indecisive, and I used to be like that, and I've learned from the world, like, dude, you just got to pick something and fucking do it. Just go. And that's, for us, opening a restaurant was not what we thought we were going to do, but we wanted to be entrepreneurial, and I'm really glad that we just decided to like do something versus talk about ideas.
I am too. If I had to do it again, I would not have done a food business.
Agreed.
The margins are slim and it's a lot of hard work and it's just hard. There's a lot of competition.
Unless you had an emotional connection to like some recipe from your grandma or something that was the bigger picture, right?
Exactly. But I completely agree with you. I'm happy we did it.
Yeah.
Instead of like, because it's so easy to talk and create new ideas, and then I feel like I'm kind of an idea man. Like I always have like, oh, this would be so cool to try, or this would be cool, Yeah. But I never like actually do the thing.
Yeah. Well, idea is the easy part. I feel like most people are in that realm of like, oh,
Yes.
this is a good idea. And it's like, well, you don't know if it's a good idea until either one, you've been through 10 bad ideas and learned like, oh, wait, maybe it's not a good idea. And that's where I think Enjoy helped me a lot with that, of like looking at stuff and be like, it's not as like grass is greener as you think. Like, how much, what does Tim Ferriss say? Like, how much are you willing to suffer for this, right? Like, anything you do is going to be way more suffering than you imagine if it's, hard to achieve and noble. But I think where I get a problem here is the opposite of that really is like, I'm not indecisive. Well, I am indecisive, but not because I'm not sure. It's because I like so many things. I'm open to so much, and everything intrigues me, or most things intrigue me to a pretty deep level. So then it's hard to be like, well, it's the FOMO thing. I'm pretty sure in my subconscious of like, well, if I do that, but I like all these other things too. So even for my life, right? Like, what do you want out of life? Well, there's a billion options of what I could do with my life because I'm a millennial told I can do anything. We're in this new capitalistic
with the internet
society.
age and everyone, we're so
travel,
connected.
information. We have everything, right? And so I guess for me, it's still hard. It's like, I don't know what I want my ultimate life to be, but I feel like I'm better at starting at what I know I don't want. And I'm curious, did you ever start like, I don't want to be so low on dollars that I have to stress about paying my bills. I don't want to be working so hard that I stress my relationships and cause drama within my interpersonal relationships. Stuff like did you do that, or did you? I'm curious.
I'm sure there was a little bit of that, but I didn't heavily focus on that.
Okay.
But I think that'd be a really good exercise to know what you don't want, and then it'd be easier to determine, okay, well, based on this, okay, now it's easy to determine what I do want.
Yeah.
I like that.
That seems to be, for me, the only way that it's going to work, because if it's like, what do you want? Well, anywhere from living on a sustainable yacht that's powered by solar and shit to like, just having a family and living decently, like not traveling even at all around the world. I would still be pretty happy, right? Like, just to have these deep, meaningful connections. But again, if I could grow wealth, which allows me to change things in the world, there's a lot of meaning and purpose from that change, right?
Yeah.
So it's like anywhere on that spectrum, I'd probably be happy. So I don't know. That's the hard part.
Well, and I agree, because for the longest time, I thought to myself, dude, I want the money. Give me the money. I want that yacht money. Right? And it seemed like the yacht was and the money and just like that whole lifestyle. Like, I can just do whatever I want. I got millions in the bank. It almost seemed like the money was the end goal, which is a wrong way of viewing it. Like, it's not like I'm going to get the money and then like, all right, now I'm set in life. This is like me still with the hedonistic mindset. And I was like, oh yeah, money, dude, money.
Consume.
And then I knew money wasn't the answer though.
Right.
And it's like you hear this all the time.
Deep
like
down.
Like even Jim Carrey has said, I wish everyone could become rich and famous so that they could realize that that's not the answer.
Yep.
Like, it's not going to fulfill you. It's not going to make you happy. And you could find some homeless people on the streets that are happier than millionaires. I'm sure you could find that. You know?
But it's hard. Like, I feel I'm so programmed that money, and I read this book on dog training. They're talking about just like how you release chemicals in your brain, and like giving a dog a treat represents this and that and that. And she was just making a good analogy, like money in your brain. When you think about the idea of dollars and money, it basically flashes all these things. Every single thing you have here, you didn't get without money. Am I right? Even the space, money. So when you think of money, it just ties to all these sentimental, meaningful things. And that's why it gives you such a good feel, because it means everything. Money is tied to almost everything. And so it's hard to overcome that, because even though I agree with you logically, I'm trying to get past this idea of making money. I know it won't make me happy, but I think it will increase my happiness.
Yes.
And reduce my stress.
There's a certain amount of money. Well, I'll let you finish that.
No, I don't know.
So there's a certain amount of money that you definitely need in order to. So I think being homeless is not great. I think it'd be very hard to be happy and homeless at the same time. I have no money.
Correct.
So you need a certain level of money just to maintain your lifestyle. And you're like saving and investing a little bit. There's like some security associated. And I think that will give you a less stressful existence when like it's not something I need to worry about anymore. Like even Joe Rogan has talked about this. Like once he got his first like big break,
a few $100,000 or whatever.
Yeah, and he just like, this weight was lifted off of my shoulders I didn't even know I was carrying. It was just like, like wow, like I can relax. And I think a lot of people who are living paycheck to paycheck, it's like they're tensed up because the money is always so like, am I going to make it this month? Can I pay the bills this month?
I can attest to that. Like, even I don't have hundreds of thousands, or I didn't, but like even having like a $15,000 bank account balance, and you've been in that realm where you have 5 digits or whatever. It's like game changer. Your stress. It's just like you can't fake it. Like the amount of stress that your subconscious puts on you when you like. I lived with like $2,000 in my savings at all times for the last since college up until I made a little bit more money, and it was just like always stressful because $2,000, you fuck your car up, gone, and then you got your medical bill comes in, and you're fucked.
Yes.
And so it was weird how I felt that same lift in my shoulder with $10,000, right? Like that can change everything. So it's crazy. It kind of gave me that insight of like I don't want to obsess over money, but man, there's some serious freedom to be had just even getting to the next level of money security. So
totally. I think all money's really giving you is options, right?
Yeah.
And just freedom. And I think those are some of my, I don't know if they're values, but those are like some of my highest goals, is to just be free as possible. Because, I think security is an illusion. I've had some near-death experiences, and it's like, oh, I could be dead right now. Like, security's not real. Dude, this like ceiling could collapse on us right now. You never know when you're going to die.
Yeah.
But just knowing that you're going to be taken care of, at least monetarily, is, it's good.
It's the first step.
I want that.
Right?
And I'm starting to like get my financial life together as well right now. I've been reading a lot of personal finance books, hyper beneficial for myself. And it's a shame I didn't start reading those 10 years ago when I was 18.
Yeah.
Especially when you're reading about like compound interest and seeing all these charts. It's like, damn it, I should have gotten in when I was 18.
Yeah, what is it? Every 7 years, your amount doubles or something? That's crazy.
I'm not sure, but it starts at the end. So time is the biggest factor. At the end, it just starts getting exponential, like the way your money grows.
Right.
So the sooner you start, the better. But anyway, I want the money. But I realize that money is just the byproduct of you already living the good life, already living the life you want to live, basically, already doing the things you want to do.
Not always, though. Look at
Not
Wall
always.
Street bankers, man. They're just sucking resources out of a system that people are working their dicks off.
But I think a lot of them probably, maybe, I don't know. Some of them enjoy their job. Would you think that?
There probably are some. I've heard a lot more of the stories of people who hated it, and then when they finally left, they had a bunch of money and went and did other shit that mattered. So I guess that maybe is a silver lining. But I do, because this has come up on different podcasts I listen to, of the idea that having money is a representation of bringing value to others. And then someone, I think it was Bigger Pockets, and they were just like, Brandon pushed back. He's like, dude, doesn't mean that necessarily. Like, people make money all the time where it doesn't bring any value to anyone. And that's what I think of, like speculative trading and Wall Street and this whole market of like, I have to go, or a friend has to go and work and like lift brick and shit for $8 an hour. And these guys sit up on computers and just fuck with our financial system, and they're making millions every year, and nothing's changing. It's just speculative. It's just sucking out value from a system. And so I don't know. It frustrates me because it's like tangent over, but
dude, it frustrates me as well. And I used to be the kind of person who was like, dude, screw the system, burn it to the ground. Like very radical, kind of like anarchist, socialist. Not that those things are bad.
Yeah.
I'm still into those ideas a lot.
Yeah.
I think if you actually look into anarchism, it's not just like all about chaos. It's basically just like distributing the power from like a top-down structure, like a hierarchical structure, to just like displacing it. So like kind of everybody has the power.
Yeah.
And we're all kind of like on an even footing, and we're accountable to each other. And so it's actually seems like a more healthy, like almost tribalistic way to live. It's like, like how our ancestors lived in tribes. Like,
yeah. But you do
right by others, and you're all accountable to each other.
Yep. The problem, I think, is you don't get the benefits of what capitalism brings.
True.
And so that's the problem, is if you look at systems from a functional perspective, what will work and what will keep us living in the means that we have now. I mean, if we all change our expectations, I think we could go to more of an anarchist or a socialistic, or all these different like buzzwords that no one truly understands the depth of, so they get all upset. But it's like, there's truths in all these systems and these ideas, right? You don't go 100% there because everything has flaws too. But I think capitalism has just got us all addicted to the benefits of it. And it is true, like the development of like, NASA did all this, the internet and all this shit, and the capitalism took it to the next level and brought it to all the people, right? And without that, we wouldn't have all the medicines we have now. We wouldn't have all this like high level of standard of living, right? So yeah, it's just I wish people would go and understand these more before they shut them down. Like, go read about anarchism and then say that you don't like it, and tell me what you don't like about it and what are the key things from it that are valuable that maybe we could try and implement. And then you're a useful person, right? And I'm not saying you, but I'm saying your general American doesn't look into shit.
Be informed.
Be informed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Agreed. So I realized like I had all these negative ideas around money. Because I was like, the system. And even though I wanted the money, I had like this conflicting idea and belief, like, but money's kind of bad by extension because I feel like all these people up top are so corrupt and terrible and evil and they're all psychopaths and they don't care about us and they're just ruining the earth and taking advantage of everybody.
Yeah.
So it's like I almost had to like let that go and realize I don't necessarily have the power to change it. I don't have the power and influence to make huge systemic changes that I want to make.
Right now.
So I realized I need to let all that go and I just need to focus on myself and I need to cultivate a positive just like understanding of money or like views of money. That's what I'm looking for, views of money. So I love money, dude, and money loves me. That's what I believe. Because if I believe it, then I'm going to manifest it. Just because my subconscious is going to be working, trying to make it happen.
Right.
If I believe that I'm abundant, which I do honestly believe that, like, dude, I'm living like a king right now. Hanging out with my buddy. We got the multiple cameras. We got all this. We got the setup, dude. Any drug you want, any food item, dude. I got like indoor plumbing, man. I'm living the dream. I got running water.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
You might get a bidet before long. Get your butthole with some clean water.
Dude, that's like a whole nother level of abundance. You got that bidet going.
Except, Eastern Europe, they have the manual bidet. Or, Asia? Where did I say? Eastern Europe?
Yeah.
I want to go there. But no, in Asia, they have the spray hose. It's like, dude, they've got it better than us. And they sleep on dirt floor. It's like crazy. But
yeah.
So you're right. You got to appreciate what we got currently.
It's like gratitude is so important, dude. And then when to embody these feelings of being grateful and just like, damn, I am abundant, I am prosperous. Well, then you're going to attract more of that into your life because of the attitude and the way you carry yourself and what you expect, your own expectations of what you get out of life and like what you deserve and all this stuff.
Yeah, like thoughts become action or behavior, and then behavior
beliefs
becomes
become
habit.
Thoughts become actions.
Actions become habit, or
yeah. Who said all this?
I don't know. I'm trying to remember this. Someone.
Did Gandhi say some stuff like this or no?
I'm sure he did. Recorded or not.
I said a lot of things.
He was dope.
Yeah.
So.
All right. I'm just gonna blow through these really quick.
Sure.
Man, there's a lot. All right. I'm just gonna list them off, and you interrupt me at any point. It's gonna be rapid fire. Okay.
No, just rapid fire. I'll try to not interrupt, and I'll like pick the one or two things I want to address at the end. So.
Okay.
To keep you on track.
Okay. This might seem weird. I watched a lot of awesome movies that gave me greater appreciation for culture. Period where I just binged like all the movies that like pop cultural references and awesome. Good for like different perspectives. I realized I have an addictive personality. It's just who I am. So I attained a more balanced life, which allows me to have greater control of my life by having greater consistency in my mood. So I'm no longer like artificially stimulating my mood all the time. So I realized like, I was always going these like, I'm high, and now I'm like super low. And I realized I just need to get to a point where it's just balanced. So it's how I feel is predictable. So I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning and I know I'm going to feel good because the things I was doing today were good for me, like eating healthy foods, drinking water, getting exercise, reading good books, having, just like having a healthy lifestyle, not drinking tons of alcohol, not eating a bunch of processed sugar, whatever. So I need that in order to like stay on top of things because otherwise I get derailed. You binge drink some alcohol and you eat a bunch of terrible food and you stay up too late and it's like
everything else is out the door.
And everything else is out the door and it's like you're getting off track of like maintaining those good habits and it's a mess.
Yeah.
So I need a little more structure in my life. I need to be able to predict how I'm going to feel tomorrow because I know what I'm doing today is good for me. So that was pretty huge. I already mentioned this. I realized I had some lingering negative viewpoints towards wealth and those with money. So I tried to eradicate that belief from my life, even though it's still true. Like some people with money are terrible people, but not everybody who has money is terrible. Some are really good people and they earned that money. I tamed my sexual desire. I got rid of all dating apps and I stopped thinking about girls. And I do the nofap thing. And I feel like I've realized as myself, I am an abstainer. It's best if I'm kind of all or nothing because I have this like addictive extreme personality. And so it's best if I just don't even indulge it at all. as opposed to like, oh yeah, I can do it every now and then. I feel like that just kind of gets me off track as well.
Yep.
This is what I've like determined for myself. You gifted me some AirPods. Dude, game changer. Anybody who doesn't have wireless earbuds, go get some AirPods or some like China brand. Dude, because you can always just be listening to podcasts and music. That was like a lifestyle bump up. I don't know. That was huge for me.
Yeah. And think about the health. Just like smashing a high frequency device against your brain, dude. Like it's a real concern. I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but
are you talking about like the Bluetooth and not being good for you?
Just like phone calls, you can do. No, Bluetooth is good for you, but the 4G and the 5G, dude, is so crazy. And it's like they've run like MRIs and shit and shown like elevated like radiation in that side of the brain where people hold their phone and stuff. So it's just like, dude, do not. I would just say if you can avoid putting a phone up to your head at any point in time, do it.
Yeah.
So that was just a
That's
side
good advice.
fact. Yeah.
I turned off the 5 gigahertz frequency on my router, so I only have 2.4 gigahertz.
And it's fast enough for what you need.
Exactly. So yeah, dude. Let's see. I realized that I must update my perception of certain activities and rewire my brain to enjoy exercise and eating healthy and dislike my bad addictions. So I was like heavily addicted to processed sugar. I had a sheet cake addiction. You already know. So yeah, just addicted to sugar, addicted to other things. And so I realized in order to break free of that, I needed to associate negative feelings with the bad habit that I was indulging in.
Yeah.
And I needed to associate positive feelings with the good habits I wanted to cultivate, such as taking walks through my neighborhood and eating good foods. And so
what does that look like? Actually, if we do pause for a second on this topic, I think this is a really, I'm working on this right now, but I think it's big for a lot of people. Like,
yeah. So okay. So, here's another thing.
Oh yeah. Follow your lead.
This is the next thing, actually. This ties in exactly with what you're asking. Learning how the subconscious mind works and how we can create new lasting habits. Huge. Anyone who is trying to make changes in your life, I think if you do some research on how your mind works, specifically your subconscious, that will be a game changer.
Yeah.
With how you view life. Because the way your subconscious works is 95% of your day, you're operating off of your subconscious mind. It's even right now, I'm kind of consciously directing this conversation and what's happening, but mostly this is just like a flow of thoughts from the well of my subconscious mind that's just like bubbling up and it's just coming out.
Yeah.
This almost seems effortless, this conversation I'm having with you. I don't even hardly need to consciously think about it.
Yeah.
Same with driving a car. It's all muscle memory. You've done it so many times. It's burned into your subconscious as almost like a computer program. It's like, run drivecar.exe. Like, oh yeah, I'm driving. Okay, sweet. And you can be like eating a burrito and talking on the phone, like driving with your knees and like
hitting the vape pen,
texting someone, hitting the vape. Like you can be doing all these things.
Makeup.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because your subconscious mind just understands how to do it. You don't need to, if you had to consciously do all of those things at once, you'd be crashing the car in a second.
True.
So realizing that we have all these programs that are installed, especially from like age 0 to 7 as a child, that's when your base programming is installed. Just like the main programs that allow you to function. So anyway.
So would you say that
subconscious is huge? Understanding it and understanding how to manipulate it
and how to exactly. So that's the thing. You're not going to change your subconscious in the same way you're going to change your conscious thought.
Yes.
So that's the idea. Using the right tools and the right methods.
So some of the things that I did in order to consciously update my subconscious programs and delete or at least update old programs, I determined what new programs I wanted to install. Like, all right, I want to install read books. That's a program I want to install. Like this is a new habit that I do. I read books. Or every time I feel like eating sugar, I'm going to sit down and just sit on the floor and meditate and just chill there. Or if every time I feel like having a bad craving or urge, I feel like I just want to eat a bunch of processed, not junk food that tastes good, I would just leave my apartment and go for a walk. It's every time I have this cue or oh man, I want to do this thing that I know I don't want to do anymore, but it's but I have these urges to do it, I would do one of these new habits.
So you had a healthy alternative coping mechanism instead of the unhealthy ones.
Exactly.
Basically.
And the problem is the more you do something, the more you're strengthening those neural connections, those pathways between your synapses. And so it's like a muscle. Your brain is a muscle. So you're exercising. You're doing the same thing over and over. And your brain wants to take the path of least resistance. It wants to do the most energy efficient route. So if you do something all the time, it's easy for your brain to just like think of that thing or for you to do that thing because it's like it's such a strong muscle, a network of neurons.
Yeah.
It's like super highways. And if you're trying to create a new habit that you never do, it's like you're going out there with a machete and you're hacking through trying to do something. And so you have to consciously like hack through to create this new program in your brain.
Wow.
And so it's draining. It drains your mental energy because you are consciously engaged. And you're only spending like typically 5% of your day like consciously engaged. I was spending way more because I am like hyper aware of my thoughts, or I became hyper aware of them because I knew like, yo man, if I ever want to have the life that I'm dreaming of, I need to like break free of these old habits and thought patterns that are holding me back.
Yeah.
And so I just sat here for months by myself in my apartment, didn't have a job. Thanks mom and dad for the money. And I just basically brainwashed myself and like sat here and just sat with my thoughts and just every single day in, day out, hammering away. And dude, I had a lot of fallbacks where it's like, damn, I'm back. I went to the store and I got this big cinnamon roll and I'm eating it and I'm hating myself. Like,
Yep.
But eventually, dude, you just stay at it long enough and eventually you come out the other end and you're like, oh damn, I've changed.
Yeah.
When did this happen? It's not like there's like a certain time, like damn, like bam, all right, now I'm over it. It's just so gradual. And eventually you look back and you're like, wow. Like I don't even have the desire to go buy a cake. It's still in me. And I know I'm so capable of that.
Yeah. You remember those.
I remember like, dude, I can
feels.
always fall off the wagon and go back to being that person because it's still in my brain. It's still down there.
Yeah.
But I just don't work that muscle out anymore. And I don't even crave it anymore. I don't even desire it. It seems unappealing now.
Dude, you know what's real interesting? I was reading about, when a dog wakes up, it stretches. Similar to humans, we wake up, we stretch and do. And it's like, I forget what it's called. There's a name. It's like, I would butcher the word, but there's a study of it, and they've even seen babies in the womb do it. So you tense your muscle, and then you relax it, and then you go totally limp and let it just be chill. And that resets the positioning. So people have tense shoulders and shit. They say like stretch it really hard, like tense it, and then let it go, and then just kind of let it flop.
Ooh. I think I just pulled something almost. Oh my god. Oh my god. Go on though.
Oh, yeah, that's good. Do it again. So they were saying like babies when they're born, one of those similar reflexes is like a grabbing reflex, right? Like a baby from birth will like always try and grab and touch shit.
Yeah.
And they're saying people with dementia and who are getting super old, once they get to that point, that reflex actually comes back for a lot of people. And so what they're saying is there's this part of your subconscious that's controlling and preventing these reflexes. So for your whole life, you're maintaining this control over this reflex that's deep down in your fucking DNA, because babies do it in the womb, right? Or maybe not in the womb. Babies are doing it after they're born at least. But they do this like reflex thing that's very similar in the womb. So, but anyways, it's that idea of like, damn, so you're actually just, you not eating sheet cake is similar to that whole idea of like, until, your cognitive functioning gets so low that you can't refrain, then hey, I mean, at that point you're not living the high quality life anymore, so just kill cakes anyways. But like yeah, it's possible. There's a muscle in there that can live your entire life to just keep you, cognitive muscle from doing it, or nervous system muscle, I don't know, but it's really interesting.
Cool, man.
Dude. Yeah,
dude, it's all in there,
all inside this spaceship.
Yeah, this what does Joe Rogan calls it, like your meat
Flat, yeah.
What is his meat ship or
meat cart.
meat your meat vehicle. Take care of your meat vehicle.
Yeah.
It's true, man.
That is funny. Well, interesting. That's a really, okay, I'm definitely taking a lot of that internal thought on the changing of the subconscious and how it affects.
And understanding it. And you're reading that book Incognito. Are you halfway through it?
Yeah.
So like reading books like that, Incognito, just like any books about the mind and psychology, it's fascinating to me. I like it.
Yeah. Cool. That's a good one.
Let's see what else I got. All right. I listed all of my bad addictions: sugar, alcohol, video games, negative thought patterns, such as limiting beliefs, trying to get over perfectionism, over analyzing, and I replaced them with good addictions. And I became very mindful of my environment and the information I am letting in. This is something I thought about recently, that you are what you eat. And that's not just food. It's also information. Right?
Right.
If you've garbage in, garbage out, dude. Like it's like computer programming. If you put in bad code, it's going to be like a terrible program.
Yeah.
Same with your mind, dude. If you're always watching like nonsense or trivial things that aren't important, well, your output's going to be the same.
Yeah. Or negative, fear invoking.
Yes. So
Banter.
I've become very mindful of only programming myself with things that are beneficial for me. So things that are positive, things that are enlightening or informative, or just like making me a better person in some way.
Yeah. How do you decide what's good for you though, and what's bad? That's the hard part.
Create a list of your values. So I even have something up here on the wall called moment-to-moment goals. So I'll read just a few of them. Contentment, gratitude. This is like with each passing moment, this is something I want to like try to embody and feel. And then like showing courage and be on offense, be active, not passive in life. And so these are like just things like, all right, like what are some things that I can always like try to remember and follow every single moment?
That's good.
It's like, what am I going to try to embody as a human being at all times? So I think creating lists like that for yourself and just like meditating on it and thinking deeply about it, and then
getting it tattooed.
you just gotta, getting it tattooed. Honestly, so something I do as well is I wear candy bracelets all the time, which I got into with a candy party with Megan and a few other people when it was before Electric Forest, a couple years back. And so I made some candy bracelets, and I wear one or two every day. And this one says, "Live your dreams." And so it's cool. Every time I look at my wrist, I'm like, oh yeah, man, like live the life that I would want myself to live. Like be the highest form of myself. Be the highest form of Ben, of what Ben is capable of, what Ben is possible of doing. And I have different ones like play to win. Like that's one that I made. Where it's like, depending on the situation or what I'm about to do, I'll pop that on like, all right, I want to be like a competitor in whatever situation I'm going into.
Nice.
It's always just like a good reminder, like, oh yeah, like I'll remember.
So speaking of that, then with your subconscious, I'm curious, do you ever hit that point where you've seen that so many times it just doesn't register?
Yes.
Is that when you switch out
Yes.
then?
You create a new one. So I've been thinking about buying like a thing of candy, like different letters, and just like, oh, I'm trying to do this new thing. Like I'll maybe we make one that says WWGD. Wear that when I'm riding my bike, tackling the hills. What would Goggins do? He'd be like, dude, this hill is nothing. Bam, 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 bam. So yeah,
break your foot intentionally just to like
exactly
experience it.
Snap it and be like, all right, let's pedal up here. Goggins. But yeah, like stuff like this, just like, cues in your environment that are going to push you into doing the things you want to do and, influencing your thoughts.
Good call.
Yeah. Okay. I slashed my life to the basics. This was a pretty big one.
Yeah.
I cut liabilities out so that I could focus entirely on only the important tasks. I got rid of responsibilities that were making me unhappy and were distracting or like stressful. And so just basically cutting down all my responsibilities to the bare bones, where I had the luxury of spending time by myself without, all these responsibilities. People hitting me up like, oh, I got to go out in the world and do this thing, or like having that free time was crucial.
Huh. Makes sense.
All right. I let go of my victim mentality. That was a huge thing. Took full ownership of everything that happens in my life. Realizing that there's no savior in the distance. There's no one that's coming to like make my life the way I want it to be. Like only I can do that. So taking full ownership was huge. I cut out laziness. I organized and cataloged my thoughts in a Google Drive. I started trying new things again. I started reading tons of self-help books and YouTube videos that inspired me and gave examples of others doing the things that I want to do. Meditating and repeating mantras, including listening to affirmation mantras and creating my own mantra song that I would listen to like throughout the day or as I was going to sleep. So it's like my own voice saying these mantras of what I want to be true in my life.
Yeah, interesting.
To update my belief system about reality and about myself, including my self-worth and my capabilities. I started tracking expenses. Every single dollar I spend, I keep track of it in a spreadsheet, and same with income. And I started living very frugally out of necessity, but that's like a good habit to have. I went on a strict information diet, cutting out all the noise, including texts and notifications. And I used active mind management. It's like actively being aware of your thoughts and like, oh, this is a thought. My mind's starting to go in this direction. Then like bring it back. This is what I want to think about. This is what I want to focus on. Dude, are you controlling your mind or is your mind controlling you?
Right. That's the real question.
Yeah. All right, I only got a few more. Mindful of those I spent time with. Had to cut some people out of my life or limit my exposure to them. I made it a priority to contact someone daily. I created a vision board. I started going on daily walks to clear my mind and generate new ideas. Started physically writing with paper and pen, which I think is cool. Started journaling and keeping a gratitude journal. I created something daily, whether it be a song or drawing something, typically creating something inspiring, such as music or whatever. Started eating healthy, including intermittent fasting and exercising.
Mm-hmm.
I let go of last remaining fragment holding me to romantic notions of the past concerning past relationships. And it felt liberating to like fully let things in the past go. And I didn't realize I was holding on to it as much as I was until I finally let it go. And I was like, wow, that was really holding me back. It's like always this like invasive thought I had or whatever. I'm not even going to get too deep into that.
Yeah.
I got rid of my car, which necessitates getting exercise by bicycle because it's my primary mode of transportation. So I have to exercise. And I also started smoking a little bit in the evenings to stimulate ideas. And it motivates me to act on my ideas, either by recording them or taking some sort of action. And it helps me to keep on track. Bam, that's a list.
The pot. Yeah.
It helps. For me, it helps, dude.
Yeah.
It like motivates me and makes me want to stay on track and like achieve my goals. And it's like, all right, Ben, like, maybe you're slacking a little bit. You are. Get back on it. It's like, you're right. All right, let's do this thing.
Nice. Damn. So how long did that take to come up with all of that? Not this time when you were recollecting it, but is all that stuff over your 3 or 4 months or whatever?
Yeah, all that stuff was over like 3 to 6 months.
That's big, man.
It's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot of cool stuff.
A lot of stuff. So as I was writing this up, typing this up the other day, like, what did I all do? It's like, wow, man, I spent a lot of time and energy on myself, investing in myself, like a shit ton. And I realized that was in a very special situation, and I had it was a luxury that not many people have because they have so many responsibilities, such as like they're in a long-term relationship, or they have kids, or they have a mortgage, or they have a 9-to-5 job they have to go to, or they have credit card debt. It's like there's all these things that are sucking up a lot of their time. So they don't have the time to just sit in a room alone by themselves and think so deeply about like, their life and where they're going and like dissect their psyche. Like not everyone has that luxury.
Yeah.
So I realized that I am very, very lucky in that respect. And I fully appreciate that. I'm super grateful for the opportunity to do that as well.
Seriously. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's how I feel too. It's like, I think of it almost as like a second chance at life, right? Like programmed with this whole idea of like be an entrepreneur, work your dick off, which I'm not against at this point, but we learned what wasn't the answer. And so now it's like, okay, well, I know that perspective was hard and here's why, and these are the reasons. Now I can look at my life again. It's like getting out of college or being in your senior year again and being like, all right, what do you want to do?
Yeah.
And it's true, you're right. Like the mobility that we have in this area and as we are as humans and all the different factors that play into it is incredible. Mm-hmm. Like we could literally do anything.
Yeah.
Anything. I could move to any country in the world probably if I wanted to, North Korea, and live and do whatever I wanted there. Like
hang out with who's that basketball player who visits?
Oh yeah, Dennis Rodman.
Yeah, hang out with Dennis Rodman.
Get some piercings, little tattoos.
Yeah, dude. Hang out with him.
Yeah, it's they shot a missile or something. Did you hear about that?
No, I don't. Oh yeah, I don't follow the news. That's another thing.
Yeah.
Year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, no news. Willfully ignorant. That's another thing. People be like, you're not informed. White privilege.
What are you informed around?
I mean, you're not wrong. Like I don't have to be informed. And I realized being informed was just pumping all these like negative, like toxic thoughts into my body. And like, because I'm upset about things I'm hearing about.
Yeah.
Because that's what sells.
If you actually want to make
people
change.
riled up. And I'm like, dude, this is not serving me or anyone.
Exactly.
So I'm just going to ignore everything. I don't care what's happening in the news. I don't even want to know what's happening. And once I have enough power and influence to actually make the changes that I want to see happen, that's when I'll start following it again. Or, maybe for the 2020 election, I'll spend like 2 weeks right before the primaries.
Soak it in,
just like dive deep into it, and then make an informed decision on who I want to vote on.
It is kind of like...
But up until that point, I don't need to be informed about what's happening.
It's all just BS these days, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like back and forth on nothing. The Trump media train.
It's just a waste of your life.
It's a waste.
And I wish more people would stop paying attention to it.
And like you said,
everyone would be a lot happier.
Yeah, like you said, you're made up of your thoughts and the information you consume. Well, everyone who's watching this shit is just frantic, dude. It's just teaching your brain to just fire.
Be upset, be angry at the other people, the others.
Dig deeper into your mindset versus open up and think about where you want to go and how you want to change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed. So yeah, I've also I haven't done it as extreme as you, but I've definitely cut out the media. Like I just don't, I get Facebook notifications. I just look for like someone actually commenting on my shit or anything specific. But other than that, it's just, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, social media is a big thing. I only spend like maybe 10 minutes a day max on social media. I'll check it a little bit and it's like, all right, I'm done. No more. Even turn off the icons on your phone is huge. So you don't even know. Like, oh, there's one notification. I got to clear that little red circle with the one. I got to clear that out.
Yeah.
Dude, turn it off so you don't even know.
That'll steal your time, huh?
Yep.
That's a good point. Dude, there's a little baby ant here. You see this thing?
Oh, I see it. Dude, should we give it some food?
I don't want to kill it, but I don't want it to crawl on me in my life,
It might be one of those poisonous baby ants.
Right. By the way, it seems like maybe the light is causing shadows at this point. Are they dimmable?
Yours looks... Yeah. Can you...
Like, I think but you, like, your arm's shadowing.
Here, just like tap the screen on the phone real quick, just to turn off the auto exposure lock. Ooh, that looks so much better.
Okay.
Wow, what a difference.
But, like, lift your arm up, though. That's the only thing. Or, like, in front of your body, you get shadowing, which I didn't know if you want. Like,
it's so much better now. I shouldn't have done that auto exposure lock. That was silly because that was really dark by comparison. Sorry, everybody watching for the brightness level.
Oh, was it? Well, you can adjust that in wherever.
I could figure that out, yeah.
Yeah. There's graphs. So would you say then, because getting to the bigger picture, me and Philip have talked about this, and I'm really focused on this idea of building a framework for my life, right? Like establishing all these things you said, right? Like visions for the future, how I want to act and feel in the moment, things I don't want to do, people I don't want to do things with, eliminating a lot of shit, which is important, and kind of building this framework that I can operate on. And I no longer have to think about as many questions and like make decisions in the moment. I just reference my framework guide.
And it'd be a subconscious response. You don't even need to think about it because you've already made the decision.
Correct. Yeah. And then there's no FOMO. It's like there is no other choice I could have made than this one, so it doesn't matter what I decided here. It's the right one. So yeah, I mean, would you say that this is it seems to me this is a very similar version of that same idea, right? You've built a framework around how you, at least for the next few years, how you want to live, what you want to think about, how you want to act. Is it good? Is it the answer? Is it a good thing?
Is it good? Is it the
good?
answer?
What is good?
Dude, now you're asking the good questions.
Right.
What is good? Dude, nothing is good or bad. It's only your perception of it that makes it good or bad. Oh, poor little ant.
I know.
But they are super resilient, though, dude.
That's what it seems like. It's not hurting.
You could hit him with a hammer, and he would bounce back, and it's amazing how much of a...
Like, what do I do? Do you want him in your house?
I don't care. I mean, if you don't like him crawling around...
He climbs on my arm, and then I am like, am I going to...
Yeah, put him in the glass, and...
God damn, he's a sneaky little bastard. Oh, he's drowning. Oh, wait.
Oh, no, he can crawl on
anything.
anything.
Damn, ants are incredible.
Yeah.
Just for the record. Holy shit.
Let the record show, ants are incredible.
And he's walking on the rim of the glass, just showing off. Like, I can walk on a curved glass surface. Yeah, seriously.
Damn, what a cocky bastard.
I know. You put a mouse in there, he ain't getting out, bro. Well, a bigger glass, but... Cool.
But to answer your question, it has been super beneficial for me. For me. But here's the thing as well. What works for me will not work for necessarily other people. Mm-hmm. Everyone is different. And that really, really struck me. Like, I already knew that, but it really struck me when I read a book that I sent you notes on. It's called Better Than Before, Mastering the Everyday Habits of Our Lives by Gretchen Rubin, who also wrote a book called The Happiness Project, which I have not read, but I've heard good things. And reading that book is like, wow, we are all so different. So really, you just need to like dissect, like think back to yourself in certain situations and how you responded. And like, what's the trend? Like, how do I respond in certain situations? Like, what if I acted in a way that I don't want to act, what could I have done differently, or what can I do now to influence how I'm going to act in the future when that situation arises again?
Yeah.
And so I guess just like, dude, know thyself. Getting to know yourself that's the name of the game, dude.
Yeah.
And then by knowing yourself, by extension, you'll eventually, hopefully, which I believe is like the ultimate goal in life. This is my own personal philosophy. I feel like the ultimate goal in life is self-mastery. Because, dude, the person who can master themselves, master their mind, master their body, dude, you're going to master your environment by extension. It's just going to be a natural byproduct of you, of like being, not being a slave to your emotions or being a slave to your mind or invasive thoughts or things, feel like you're not in control of your life. We'll be in total control.
I feel like that's chicken or the egg, right? Because in order to master yourself, you either have to choose the right environment or you have to manipulate the current one to match,
Yes.
or else you won't have that mastery. So
Yes, exactly.
So, that's a good point.
Environment is crucial.
Yeah.
Like if I had just like sheet cakes sitting up in my cupboards all the time, it'd probably be hard for me to resist. So my environment, I don't have that. I have like fruit. I have like strawberries and blueberries, and I got bananas and apples. And
Second line of defense.
exactly.
Fruit. That's good, man.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
So let me ask you a few questions real quick, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Okay. Here we go.
Damn. Should I be afraid?
Yes.
About to get
Yes.
deep.
You're about to get grilled, bro. This is about to be
Please.
interrogation style.
Roast me, dude.
All right. What does an ideal conversation look like to you?
Oh, that's a good question. Are you gonna be butthurt if I'm like, this is not it? This
No,
is
dude.
bad.
Nah, dude. I am just like grateful and content, and I'm just like Jesus over here, dude. Like Buddha, just meditating,
Sure. Sorry.
accepting everything.
Well, that is a great conversation for me. Then when the other person meditates and just like chills, like, all right. I mean, that's more like therapy, but yeah, no response needed. No, actually, this brings me back to something I had thought about in a long time. There was a old roommate of mine. His name was Gopi, and he said this thing to me that just like fucking blew my mind. And he basically just said, in a conversation that has a purpose, that there is some point to it, there needs to be one of two things true. And he said, either one, I need to be able to learn something from the person who's speaking, and so generally they're talking and I'm soaking in something, and I'm willing to open up to their ideas and maybe consider them as true, consider them as false, whatever it is. You're receptive and you're not just like shutting down what's being said, right? You're soaking in and you're enabling the possibility of learning from them. And then the opposite side is basically the converse of like, or that person is open and willing to learn from me, and they're open to my ideas, and they're hearing me out, and they're not just shut down and like standing there looking, thinking about something else or whatever. And to me, that is the ideal conversation if one of those two things are happening, because there's so much implied on that basis, right? There's an egalitarian factor where we basically respect each other as humans, and we're understanding that, something you say is important, something I say is important. We're being respectful, thoughtful. It's a back and forth. It's balanced. It's just, there's so many things that come from that. So yeah, man, learning or being taught, or no, teaching or being taught, one of those need to be happening from your perspective, or else to me, it's a waste of time. Why are you there? There's a lesson in everything, right? Even just to have someone's shared experience in life, that's a lesson. You're realizing, oh damn, you're going through that. Like everyone's got shit, right? And it's, like you've said before, it's helpful for you to hear someone else's shit because it pulls you out of your own. But it's also helpful for the person who's telling you about their shit to like have someone else hear and recognize it and validate it, that they're not alone. And maybe we're talking about positive stuff. It's good to have someone there who's hearing your wins and supporting you when you're doing good. So like, no matter what you're talking about, either, yeah.
Free therapy.
Yeah. Thank you.
Dude, friends, man.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It's that, equality of conversation, I think.
Yeah, and I remember you saying this years ago, talking about how like, yo, either you teach me something or I'll teach you something. And if that's not happening, then like, all right, let's part ways and like, love you, whatever, you're a human being, but it doesn't make sense for us to like hang out or like converse or whatever. And you said that to me years ago, and I'm like, oh, that's so good. It makes sense, dude. Like, of course, if someone's not leveling your thinking up in some way, or like trying to push you out of your comfort zone, or like make you grapple with a new idea or new action or whatever, then it's like you're not really going anywhere. You're not growing,
Yeah. It's like, how could two separate humans who have so many different experiences be stuck together and just do nothing that's beneficial for either? I don't understand.
Talk about the weather.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on here?
Pretend to be yeah.
Like, come on.
What are you saying? Like, and I'll say the weather thing here and there because it's an older person who's used to that. And then, but right after that,
it's a nice intro to a conversation.
Warm them in, because you got to meet people where they're at. If you just come in and start going deep, my brother tends to do this a lot, and it still works fairly well for him, but it's a more abrasive approach of like, let's talk about something really deep and important about the world. And most people who don't spend a lot of their time doing that, it's a lot. And then,
like, whoa.
But then
Not used
usually
to
they
this.
warm in and like, oh shit, you're actually dealing with emotion and thought, and I've been holding it all in for 46 years.
How have I been living?
Fuck.
Oh no, I can't address this. Shut it down. Shut it down.
So yeah, so it is good, but yeah, thanks for that perspective. I think you had an eloquent way of summarizing it, and I do remember thinking of it that way because I was really militant about it. I had at that time I had so many more people in my life that were just wasting my time, and I try, you try and reach out to people, you try and help get them to the next stage of whatever it is they're trying to do or need to do. And if they're not receptive after so many attempts, it's like you have to give up and move on. You can't keep everyone in your life. And it was at that point I was pissed because I realized that people would just drag me along, and I drag myself along with them to just like be kosher, to not, I didn't want to be rude, I didn't want to upset them and like stop the conversation, but it was just a waste of time. So good lesson, man.
Excellent lesson.
Good question too.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
That's great.
These are questions I think I want to ask every guest at the end. So
Nice.
I'm trying these out.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Okay. What does an ideal day look like
For me or for
for you?
the world? Man, that's
Or you know
hard.
what? I said day. Date. What does an ideal date look like?
Oh, good. Okay, that's probably easier for me to answer at this point. So let's not Goggins it for right now. Ideal date. Oh shit, man. You're saying like a romantic date to be more specifically. I don't know. So I guess there's so much to experience with a new human, right? Like there's the preemptive thought, there's, the development of the plans, and then there is the actual showing up, the moments before, the first moments of the interaction.
Yeah.
So to me, there's a lot of good chemical things to happen in that. I think that's, me and Phil have talked about this a lot, and I think you've agreed too, of like, that initial honeymoon phase in a relationship and all those feels you get. There's just something exciting and new about a new human.
Totally.
And I would say, so for me, there's like that, if you're in that like good realm of anticipation, you're excited, but it's not too much where you're feeling anxious and you're like super nervous, because I don't like that either.
Yeah.
So just kind of like a good initial interaction, and then the first time you meet is like feels a little tingly, but it's not like overwhelming, because
Like
I
some
definitely
slight
had
butterflies.
just subtle. And then after that, just someone who, and then, like me and Megan always say, is like when it's like you just click, and there's no trying. Like you're saying, it's just like your subconscious kicks in and your real humanity comes out to each other, and you're just going.
We're just vibing
You're
with
just
each other.
in it, yeah. And that's it, man. It's like it'd be cool to do
effortless.
some shit that is awesome to parachute or like do something extreme eventually, but like first date, we did yoga, which was actually a really thoughtful, me and Megan did for our first date. It was very thoughtful and kind of meaningful first date, so that was pretty cool. Yeah, it's like you need to do that for yourself anyways, and now you're doing it with other humans, and then you go out to dinner afterwards, and it was super cool to have like an activity. Actually we've talked about that before, me and Megan. People on Tinder and all these dating sites, a lot of people are just ratchet and not good at this, and good at what, I guess, is the question. But anyways, they don't ever like have a cool activity. And I would say for me, that's probably one of the number one things of a good date is like, besides just being on a date, we're doing something that like pushes us to each interpersonally develop, grow inside ourselves, but also maybe a little bit with each other. And yoga is one of those things where Megan was just like, yeah, no one's ever invited me to a first date at a yoga class. That was interesting, especially a guy. It's a more feminine driven experience, I would say, yoga. And I was like, fuck yeah, I was really into yoga at that point, and it felt great. And so doing that activity was so crucial, because if we just went and sat and had dinner, I don't know, there's something, it's hedonistic, and it's not.
It's just, I don't know, to me it just seems so basic.
That's it. That's true.
Like, let's do something like weird.
Yeah.
I'd rather do something really weird than get dinner.
And that was the perfect thing, because me and Megan, like, we're always doing new different shit, and that was, so it was kind of an indicator of the person. If a person you go on a date with too, and that's another thing I think of, is like do something that will like push them and show their colors more.
Yeah.
So like that activity ties into that as well. It's like if this person's like, oh no, I'm not going to meet you at a yoga class. It's like, okay, well, you're probably not as open to ideas as I need out of a person I'm going to be this close and constantly in contact with. So cool. Like, please enjoy your life. See ya.
Peace be upon you.
Peace.
I'm out.
Yep. Cross the name off the list. Yeah. So that's it. I think those just the good feels, and then like the purpose to the date, I think, is what I would. Oh man, that's ideal. That's perfect.
I like that.
Yeah. Thanks.
Damn, I'm taking notes over here, dude.
All right. We'll have to go on a bro date at some point and just like hang out. You'll be
Yeah,
like,
that'd be
"Ooh,
awesome.
Damn.
I like a good bro date. Maybe we'll ride our bikes around.
Yes.
Check out some neighborhoods.
True. Shoot some video.
Yeah, dude.
Maybe we could get like a helmet with a microphone and do the podcast while we ride. Like
That would be awesome. Out like GoPros, like on our handlebars, like looking up at our faces as we're riding, and
dude, it's like Jerry Seinfeld, comedians in cars getting coffee.
so sweet.
Bitches on bikes, talking life. Burn. Well, we'll think about
Dude,
that, man.
We'll put that in the. Write that down.
In the show notes, everyone, you can look up the next episode
Exactly.
of us on bikes.
Next time we get together to do this, we'll do it on bikes.
Yeah.
How about that?
Give me like 3 or 4 years to really achieve some high flying things, and then
people
I'll be
actually
back
want
on.
to watch. They'll be like, "Oh, Ron, yeah,
From fucking
he's actually
2019,
somebody
dude.
now."
Yeah, be like, look at that little chump.
Dude, we're already both somebody.
Dude, by definition, I guess we are, aren't we?
Yeah, technically. I mean, we do exist.
Cool.
All right. So here's actually a question similar to what I asked initially, but then corrected it. Right now, what does your current day look like? I'm just curious, like, how you're currently spending your time.
That's interesting. Yeah. Trying to get my sleep schedule more consistent. Right now, since I left the high working entrepreneurial world, closing out a bunch of ends there, which takes some time, but I took a new obsession on finishing this man cave structure that's behind my house. I've been working on it almost a year now. Megan reminded me, and when you have full-time jobs and businesses, it was just moving so slow. But once I had all the time of my day, then I started. So the last 2 weeks I've been going like every day as I can.
Yes.
And it's awesome to get the progress, but it's also, I'm ready for it to be done.
Yeah. You're at that point. How, like, percentage-wise, how close are you? Like, how much have you done already?
95.
Damn, you are very close.
It's painting, trim, all the
So,
little
like, all the
shit
little
now.
details now.
It's looking great, dude.
Yes.
So it feels good. So yeah, I wake up and basically I probably go to Home Depot once a day because you know how that goes. And doing a lot of physical labor and building shit, which I fucking love. It's my state of flow. I get out of my head. I'm just chill and time passes and I feel good. So I'm trying to figure out if that is something I want to do for money or if that would ruin it. So that's a thing. Trying to do mindfulness every single day and a little exercise. And then, Megan comes home and we get to see each other, which is always nice. I'm probably putting...
Wow.
You ever heard of the psoas muscle?
Psoas? No.
Look into this shit, dude.
All right, I'm going to mark psoas.
PSOAS. Starts with a P.
Nice.
And it ties your lower torso to your legs.
Yeah.
And it can cause restricted breathing, causes all kinds of fucking issues, dude. It's this muscle that we don't stretch very often. It's responsible for you lifting your knee up. So it's a muscle that goes like through here.
Okay.
So anyways, I started stretching that and I feel fucking...
Dude, I Googled it.
better.
Psoas. Nice.
It's like a big trend now, so... Oh wait, I turned our headphones down.
Oh, you
Mic,
did.
check, 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 check. There we go.
Check. My mic sounds nice.
Check one.
Yeah, definitely get close to it because when you're back like that, like you can't hear anything when you do start talking again.
Maybe I should do this type of shit.
Yeah, feel free to move it around, dude. Yeah. But yeah, make sure you're pretty close to it.
Cool.
All right.
Hello.
Well, let's all right, everybody, we are back. Fire alarm went off. That was the first time that's ever happened. It was very loud.
No fire though.
But no fire. It
So
was
we're
just,
fucking good.
Just a test. So we good, man. All right, man. Well, let's keep on rocking here.
Definitely.
We're getting close to the last few questions. Yeah, a few more.
Cool.
Okay, what does your ideal day look like? It's maybe a little tougher
Yeah.
than your current day looks like. What are some things you like to do? Just your typical day.
Ideal day, right? Well, it all starts with balance. I think I just want to have a balanced day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so waking up early is what I'm told by everyone is really good. I've never been great at it, but
Yeah.
that's an excuse. So yeah, I think getting up early before most other people are up, there's a really good feeling to that. And so I think an ideal day would be up early, little physical exercise to kind of get everything moving and get my good chemicals going for my brain. Like you said, set a good mood, intentionful mindfulness a little bit, just something. So kind of a morning routine, I guess. If I could have an ideal day, I would have some sort of routine that I just do, right? And it's not effort. It's fun. And it's just, I do it every day. And then I don't know, working on something that has purpose. I don't believe that we can just like live a life and not work towards something. So yeah, spending probably, 2 to 4 hours a day, like hard, concentrated work on something that matters, that can change people's lives. And then balancing that with, a little good food and grub, maybe a little intermittent fasting here and there. And then, leisure time after that, just to be able to read and think about ideas and talk with people, friends, and hang out with Megan and our dogs, and just like be probably half or a little bit more than half of the day, honestly, would be the ultimate. And then, periodic traveling where I'm doing this in different places around the world. And once again, helping hopefully people around me and changing the environment where I'm at if it's not optimal.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
Yeah.
Dude, that sounds like an awesome day.
Yeah.
It's a day I want to live.
Do it every day.
Hell yeah. That's the goal. So you know what the goal is, man. Where do you want to be?
True. Yeah, I should.
And I like that idea of not working 8 hours a day too. Because I feel like, dude, 4 hours a day is like max. That you should, like when you're like, your brain, your analytical mind is really productive and ready. You're down to focus,
Yeah.
Like you wake up the first 4 hours, just like, do your routine, work out or whatever, and then just like get into it.
Mm-hmm.
I like that.
Yeah. Thanks for making me verbalize that. I hadn't tangibly had it out. So
now you know, dude. Now you know what the goal is.
Done. I don't even need my trip.
Dude. All right, dude, pack it up. Go home. You're good. You're good, man. You're set for life.
Thank you.
Okay. What does your ideal life look like? Now we're thinking like,
oh shit,
long term.
See, that's the one where I said I have a problem with. I don't know. I think it's a misnomer that there is an ideal. I think or at least for me, I go more in the range of like, I don't want this. All of these possibilities would be awesome, and I can find happiness in these realms.
Yeah.
Happiness at the level that I expect. And so I think, not being a slave to a job, being an active participant in whatever I do for work, is just the ideal life. Probably doing it forever. I don't believe in the idea of retirement, right? Like you should always be doing something. Like it's just, you're alive, right? Like I'm never going to go sit on a couch, hopefully. I think access to the world is one of the big things out of an ideal life, where I could just go and see other ways people are living and experience other humans and culture. Like, I think we all want that, and being able to do that. And then, what comes along with that though is a good, I wouldn't say burden, but like weight of understanding that, oh shit, we have it real good and a lot of people don't. And then hopefully like trying to help change that, because, traveling really broadens your perspective. As you mentioned earlier, one of the top life-changing things ever. So, having that, and then, developing and interpersonal relationships with humans just over time, as they become longer and more mature, they become juicier and sweeter, and just, you can't replace 20 years of knowing a human, or even 10 or 5, that perspective and the way you interact with them. So that, with friends, people like you, just continuing to delve deeper. But also, Megan's probably my, most intimate relationship, or definitely is. But so with her and working towards building a family and having, producing a little human that we can, help establish in the world. And dogs too, they're like baby babies. But I feel like it's like an onion, or like Saturn's rings, right? There's like family, and then there's bigger ring family, and then there's this family. But like even us as friends, it feels like a family. It's just there's different you have different, I don't know, intensities or something like that. There's some ethereal difference. So yeah, just building that and having the purpose, Like I said, I already mentioned that, just kind of like having a main purpose of what I'm doing with my time.
Maybe. But yeah. Purpose, meaning, dude.
Purpose,
it's important.
yeah. I'm leaning towards the whole idea of like self-mastery, mental health, helping people just feel better about their existence. Because I think once you can change people's minds, you can, everything else in their life can change, So all these things we're fighting for, environmentalism and equality for humans, and, getting rid of slavery and resources for people who don't have water and stuff like that. Like, I feel like our minds are just blocking us and saying other things are more important. And once we get past that, if we can, then we say, no, this is fucking huge. This is the most important thing, that these humans are suffering this hard. So I definitely lean towards my purpose of like helping change people's minds.
I like it, dude.
Yeah.
Well, dude, let's pump out our propaganda.
That's true.
Let's
Yeah, we're doing something right here at
Yeah.
least. If one person sees it and feels something that helps, yeah, I guess that is the goal, right?
True. I like it, man. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Thanks for the question.
Definitely. What are some of your biggest struggles in life? Or what have been some of your biggest struggles?
It's a really good one. Well, yeah, to start lighthearted, I think what I've been talking about before, this whole idea of like unlimited options, and then the FOMO tied with, well, even when you pick one, no matter what, you're still losing because you didn't pick the other 3.6 billion. And
Can't do them all.
yeah, that's a struggle, man. That's the existence we're born into. And it's also, you look at it from the other perspective. Oh, you're so fucking, you're gifted everything and you can have whatever you want. You're
spoiled.
privileged, spoiled. Yeah, that's the
You
word
want
I'm
everything
looking
handed
for.
to you,
Yeah.
and you're not happy with what you have. And
it's funny, that paradigm, because they're not wrong. You're right. It's still, they're both right. It's like, yeah, we have everything. I'm like, I don't have to work that hard for anything. And I do work hard for things, but you don't have to, right? I could exist very easily without much effort. But then on the opposite side, there's just so much cognitive strain and so much suffering that exists in that unlimited option world. It's hard. It's fucking hard. And it's just like, I have a lighter sense of my own personality, even, I would say, because it's like, I like everything. So it's hard to like decipher. And, some people are born where their parent was this or they got, abused, and they're like, I'm going to fight abuse for children. Like they have like a clear, emotionally grabbing purpose that pulls them in. And, I had a pretty just mild experience growing, not mild, but like nothing so significant it called me to do it for my whole life. And so now I have to like define purpose and meaning, which it's great, but sometimes it's easier if I was just given something,
right,
and it just mattered.
Like, oh, I got cancer and then I beat it, so now like I'm all about getting funding for cancer research.
Yep. Right. Yeah. Some clear.
Where's my traumatic moment? Damn it.
Yeah.
I need some more trauma.
Yeah. Sometimes trauma is helpful.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I think some of the like worst experiences in your life can be the biggest positive things that ever happen to you because they motivate you to change and, I don't know.
Yeah, if you're using them right? Like if you're taking all your negative things that you experience and use them to grow.
Direct that energy into something positive.
Yeah, they could also be the worst thing of your life ever, and you hold on to it and you tell everyone about it. Yeah. Which...
It's like, let me sit in this terrible thing that happened to me and just think about it and ruminate and just keep absorbing that terrible thing over and over. Right. Run it on repeat. Yeah.
Not good stuff.
Not good, man.
What else you got?
What is one experience that had a profound impact on you and shaped you into the person you are today?
One experience.
Just one you want to talk about. It doesn't have to be the one, like, most crucial experience. Just one.
I think I might know where you're going with this. Or maybe you don't have any intention for me and you're just throwing out.
Dude, these are just questions I'd ask anybody. Yeah.
That's true. I'm thinking deeper into it, and which is cool.
Like, Ben knows me. He's asking me these questions.
Oh, yeah. Well, so yeah, I would say I've been thinking about this a lot more recently. Just kind of like from 0 to 100. If I'm at 100 right now, like percent of my existence, and I look back how I got to here, I try to look at those like pivotal. Yeah. I didn't even know I had a problem, but the last few times I've tried to say that word, I butcher it. So pivotal experiences. And the one that ties back to what you were saying earlier before, the psychedelics world, that, neurologically changes how even, temporarily, but also somewhat in the long term, how your brain is functioning and what regions of your brain interact and how, and your emotion versus your logic and all these things. Yeah. The psychedelics has definitely just taken such and it's not even, they have had an impact on me. Basically, they've allowed me to have an impact on myself, right? Like they opened up this, I don't know, the functioning of my brain to a totally different way that I didn't even know was possible without them. So, and I look back, I think I had a very specific my very first psychedelic experience at a very young age, I would say, compared to most people. I was about 15 or 16. I was right in between, like 15 and a half probably. I couldn't drive. And, we were having house parties because mom was gone on the weekends, which is really nice. And so Matt had a bunch of people over. And there was one friend that just took us to a guy's house. And crazy. First time I'd been to a big drug dealer's house with cameras outside, and he had a gun on the table and all this shit, which is super. It was exciting. I was a young teenager. I'm like, this is great. But anyways, yeah, we got some psychedelic mushrooms and ate them that night. And, I didn't know what to expect, but I was open to pretty much anything. And long story short, the guy who actually had introduced us, he kind of was there as a shaman for me. And there's this huge party going on inside the house. And all these people in stimulus, and we were just outside in the front yard, and we were just kind of just chilling. Took our shoes off. We were standing in the driveway, balancing on one leg, and just kind of quietly talking about, I don't know, something just broad about life, just generalizations, and just kind of being with each other, and just, I don't know, mindfulness and in the body. And it was just like, there's no way to explain it to someone who hasn't experienced it. There's a lot of clarity there. Like, you aren't high, you aren't out of it. You're like in it. You're like in that moment.
You're way more conscious and like in tune with yourself and the world around you.
Yes. And that it's so clear, that moment still right now in my head. And so not only that experience, right, in those hours, like your thoughts are just like opening up to things you've never thought before. And you're thinking about these things that emotionally hurt, but the emotions kind of staying out of it. So it's allowing you to think more rationally about, maybe I am being like, treating people wrong or not, even though I'm angry when I'm doing it, don't feel that anger now and think about it. And so it helps change a lot of behaviors. But then after that experience, man, the weeks and the months following is just the reflection, and it changes something in your brain. Like, your brain is literally, it just opens this door. And so I would say, like, starting psychedelics young, and of course I've done them more since then, very responsibly, not often, but 1 or 2, 3 times a year max. And dude, it's just, I wouldn't be who I am without it, right? Like, I wouldn't even be able to be sitting here and talking about who I want to be, how I want to be, without having my brain expanded to that point, because we're programmed and raised in this society that doesn't teach that. It just teaches repetitiveness and following the rules and doing the things. So
yeah,
that experience, man, I'm like, go back and forth. I always joke with Megan, like, we're giving our kids psychedelics at 16. And she laughs. And I'm like, well, I'm not kidding. Shit is very important. While your brain's still moldable, like, you need to get some shit in there.
Yeah.
So it was awesome, man.
I love it, dude. And it's good for people to hear stuff like this, because a lot of people who haven't done psychedelics before, there's so much misinformation out there. In the DARE program, when you're in grade school, just say no. All drugs are bad. Meanwhile, alcohol is like terrible for your body. Yeah, it's like, oh, this is legal. So the whole thing is just, it's screwy.
Yeah, prohibition does not work. And it's funny now that there's so much clinical evidence making psychedelics just, it's insane,
it's
man.
Pharmaceutical industry, man.
Money is more important than our cognitive development as humans. What? Yep.
Keep us sick. Don't fix it. Let's just put the Band-Aid in. Let's give them the pills. Take these pills the rest of your life. Whereas you take, like, psilocybin mushrooms once, and it's like, oh, depression for decades? I'm done with that. Oh, PTSD? I'm over it.
Dude, smoking cessation for people with cigarettes. Dude, it was crazy. It was like 60% of people who did psilocybin, which is from magic mushrooms, to try and stop smoking tobacco. 60% of them were still abstaining like 2 years later.
From just one
single experience with it's like nothing. They were saying like the highest is like 35% from like any of those other pharmaceutical drugs. And that's like after 6 months, and then it starts going down from there. So it was like 85 or 90% after 6 months on psilocybin, and then it was 60% after 2 years. It was just like, whoa.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, it's medicine. It's like, I almost don't even like to call it a drug, because there are like negative connotations associated with that maybe. Dude, it's medicine. It's straight up medicine. And I think if everyone in the world took it like at the same time, overnight, the world would radically change, like in a positive way.
Yeah. Dude,
Like,
that's an idea.
Everyone would become hippies, like peace, love, happiness. Let's be good to each other. Let's be like good and like loving and accepting of ourselves, and like, screw all the bullshit in life. Like, let's focus on what really matters.
The only downside of that plan would be people have to deal through all their drama and bad shit before they can get to that point.
Yes, totally.
So maybe we'd have everyone in the world freaking out at one time with like
everything would get crazy, like civilized. Like that would be like
mass extinction.
Yes, exactly. True. We'd have to stagger it, maybe.
I do like this idea though. Like if we made a Kickstarter where it's like we want to grow and preserve enough psychedelic mushrooms for every human in the world to have a 3.5 gram dose. And then once we get to that, then we'll distribute it all for free.
Dude,
Donate to our Kickstarter.
Let's start a nonprofit.
Yeah, that's an interesting
That's actually
idea.
a good idea.
We have talked about dropping off helicopters
Like
into
dropping
Africa.
like shipments, but it's not like food or water. It's anything they open up. It's like just a bunch of mushrooms in there.
Psychedelics. And like, who knows, man?
I like it.
Who knows? So, yeah, more to be said there, but we'll leave it at that, I think.
Yeah, for another time. All right, who inspires you?
Man, that's a great question.
I'm sure there are a lot of inspirations in your life. People who have affected you deeply.
Yeah, I guess to constrain it, do you think something more recent and relevant would be?
Yeah, sure.
I'm trying to, like, I hate to be the like standard response, you know? It's like on Bigger Pockets when they're like, what book would you recommend? And everyone's like, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And you're
Yeah, right.
Like, even if it's true, it just doesn't offer me any value for you to say that again.
Okay, why don't you... Who inspires you who maybe people aren't very familiar with? That might be good.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good one. Okay, yeah, I got a great one right here.
Okay,
Thanks for
sweet.
phrasing it that way.
Yeah.
Well, you know this guy. He's a musical artist named the Polish Ambassador. If you don't know about him, dude gets it. And why I say that is basically the biggest thing about him is his whole premise of partying with a purpose. The dude just like understands that like this whole scene, the music, the making the money, the doing the drugs, the, you know, opening the mind, all of these experiences are cool, but it's like if you're not doing anything larger with it, then what is the whole point?
It's just hedonism at that point.
Yeah, it is. It's like distracting from something versus pulling you towards something, right? Yeah, so Polish Ambassador, he's super dope. Like all of his songs are just actually meaningful and deep, and he's so real on stage. Like he was talking last time we saw him, or 2 times ago, he had a hard ass year, and he was just up there like tearing up, like, dude, I've just had a hard year. I want everyone to know.
Damn.
It's like a real human on
Getting
stage.
real with people. I like that.
And then he brings his partner up, this girl who's incredible. So they're just like killer artists live, but he holds like events a lot of times where he has shows in cities. He'll hold like get-togethers of like community action events the day before his shows and stuff, where people come and volunteer and work. He's a big proponent of permaculture and other stuff, but just his whole like system and jive around being a musical artist, but not just being a musical artist, being so much more. It's fucking inspiring, because it is like, what is the bigger purpose behind anything you're doing? And there could be more, right? There could always be more. And if you have the capacity, make it more, make it changing for a positive. So yeah.
Nice.
Dude kills it.
You know, I saw him when I was at Electric Forest. Did I tell you guys that?
You did tell me that.
I saw him in the
Walking
crowd,
around.
and I was like, oh, I wish Ron and Megan were with me here. I'd be like, yo, your boy. Yeah, he was just walking around.
Yeah, that's cool. Fuck.
Cool, dude. I need to see one of his sets. I definitely want to. All right. Let's see. What book, podcast, show, or other form of media have you recently consumed that you would recommend?
Queer Eye. Dude, that's the TV show that gets it. So I've been thinking about all the things I want to do with my life. And, you know, nothing's out of the question, right? You put down all these things. And I've even considered the idea of getting into like TV, movie, scripting, writing, producing shit based on Queer Eye, man, because it's Queer Eye for the Straight Guy was the original version back in early 2000s. And it was like kind of, I don't know, trite. It was just, it was a cool show, but it was like really fashion and like, you know, shallow, right? It was really focused on looks and all this and shit.
Yeah.
Dude, the new Queer Eye that's on Netflix now, and they're like busting out seasons. The Fab Five, there's like 5 dudes who are just like, they're all gay, pretty well achieved dudes. But dude, their energy is incredible, and it's literally therapy on TV, and it's real. You can tell, like, actors don't act like this. It's real people's real emotions, real hard situations that they're dealing with, and it's therapeutic for the person who's on the show. It's therapeutic for me watching. Like, I cry, you know, like not like bawling, but like emotion releases from my psyche every time I watch an episode, because I empathize with that human, and it feels so good to see them feel good. And there's just so much depth to this TV show in a world where TV shows are pretty much all worthless. They're all just distractions and like running through fictional scenarios to distract yourself. This is like pulling us more into empathy and connecting with other humans. Dude, it's just like, it's really cool.
This is basically the next level of reality TV, where it's actually real. It's not like all scripted, like, okay, what's going to get the views? It's like, no, we're getting real. We're getting vulnerable. We're opening up about our emotions and our feelings and our lives. And I love it, man.
Dude, I hope you're right. Because if it is, then I'm excited for the future, right? It gives me hope. Mm-hmm. If it's another real world where they're getting drunk and cheating on each other in the pound room or whatever, like that's worthless. But
yeah.
Dude, Queer Eye, check it out if you haven't watched.
I watched the first season maybe like a year or two ago based on your recommendation, you and Megan.
Right. They just dropped season
Done
4.
Season 4 already? Oh, wow.
They're busting them out. Dude, there was 2 episodes this most recent season specifically that were so fucking intense. Like, most episodes, it's a person who's like, fairly open. They act closed off, but with all the TV and the cameras and people there, they're like, okay, yeah, I'll try that and blah, blah, blah. There's 2 episodes in this new season where it's like clearly they're like a little further removed from standard society and they're like not getting it. Mm-hmm. And they're like kind of apprehensive and they're kind of fighting back and they're getting, so it's just so real. And eventually
the people they're trying to help are acting this way.
Yeah. Like this one lady and her daughters, she's a drill instructor. She does this like camp for young kids to help youth get like structure and discipline, which is really good.
Yeah.
But she's obsessed over it for like 20 years and she wasn't even really much of a parent for her daughters. And then they sit down and like her and her daughters talk and they're kind of just like, Mom, like we just would love to get more love from you. Like you've never said I love you, and we want to have a better relationship with our mom. And then she gets like real defensive and she's like, are you guys scared of me? Are you scared? It was like intense. It was like she was still holding on to that deep like anger. But then by the end of the episode, she kind of got like, I realized I was just like I had this huge wall holding myself in and not allowing myself to feel emotion and connect with others. It was like, fuck.
Wow. People are having breakthroughs.
Yes. And imagining being like Karamo is this dope dude he's the culture aspect of the Fab Five. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And just him sitting there and like, he had to deal with that situation in real life. Like these guys are doing this shit. Like you're sitting there, there's cameras around. Yeah. But like you're dealing with this hard situation. And it was just like it's like noble, man. They're good actors. They keep good energy, but they're more of like humans. Like you come into a room, they all come in and they just like shower people with love, and it's like you can't feel awkward around them. Like they don't allow it.
Yeah,
which is super cool. I don't know. I just respect and those guys are fucking awesome. I respect them a lot.
I like those guys. Good energy, man.
Yeah,
because like they're so open and just like you can tell they are not ashamed of who they are or ashamed of being vulnerable or open or just like they're just gonna express themselves in whichever way feels comfortable and natural. And it's like all just like positive goodness that they have like at the core of their being. And it's like just radiating out. So when you're around them, it's like, damn, these guys are awesome. Yeah, just watching it, I feel the same way. Like, oh, this is so cool to see. Like the impact they're having on these people's lives that they're helping. Yeah,
it's cool. It's exciting to know that they've got that figured out. Because it reminds me a lot of, when we have a good group of friends, it's like we that very similar energy of just like all good and we're all here for each other and it just feels good. But then they've done that, and they're like people from the industry, where fashion's really contrived, and a lot of times just not that positive, the fashion industry and TV even itself, right? Like I've said, it's just like so scripted, and they just bullshit. So they've had this connection, and then they've been able to get it onto TV and authentically show all that emotion through the television screen, which I'm sure isn't easy. I've never done it, but man, it can't be as easy as just doing it in real life.
Yeah.
So yeah. Fuck yeah, I would check that out. Like,
Queer Eye, everybody, check it.
Yeah, it's therapy, dude. You'll cry a little bit and you'll feel good.
Dude, anything that makes me cry, I'm down for it.
True.
I like it.
We should just sort out things that make us cry. Like yes.
Yeah, man. I tend to cry during like animated kids movies. Tell you what, some of those kids movies, dude. I'm getting more out of those movies than the adults are, or like than the kids are.
The kids are. You say like newer ones or even OG?
Newer ones. They're so well done. Dude. The animation is great. The imagination, creativity, and the worlds they're creating and the characters is amazing. Mm-hmm. Like everything about it is like, this is inspiring.
Yes. And the deeper message is always there, which I didn't realize as a kid. I don't think our kids' movies had much of a deeper message, maybe subtle, but...
Yeah, these new ones are just so good.
They're pointing towards mental health a lot. Like we just went and saw Toy Story. And all the time, like Buzz Lightyear, he kept like hitting his button like to play the noise, and Woody's like, listen to your inner voice, and he kept hitting a button like, leave home base now, it's not safe. So he like Buzz Lightyear throughout the movie, like his action is dictated by this inner voice that he has. It's just like telling him the truth and like how to actually live his life. Shit like that. It was like super fucking deep. There was a lot more than that too. So
yeah, I'm excited to see Toy Story 4. It's on my list.
yeah, it's good.
I'm gonna wait until it's no longer the main theater. Yeah.
Dude, I'll just say though, Tuesday night, discount night, $4.50.
Damn,
It's not
I need to check that out.
Me and Megan bring a backpack with popcorn and drinks.
Where's that located again? Which one?
That one's in Oakley.
What's the name of it?
Cinemark, Oakley.
Cinemark in Oakley. Okay, I've been there a few times.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a newer one. Nice. If you want to write up one time, man, we try and go weekly, but we haven't been for a while. So
I like it.
yeah. Fuck
okay.
yeah.
I like this. All right, dude. And this is like the last legit question.
Oh shit.
If there's one piece of wisdom or advice you would share with those listening, what would it be? Okay, let me ask you a different question. Or unless you already know the answer.
I was gonna say you might have to just cut out like a minute here because I gotta think on that. But yeah, if you want to phrase it differently, that might help.
So what about this? What is one piece of wisdom or advice you would share with your younger self? Do you like that question more?
Yeah, it's probably easier because you can think of like specific scenarios that have happened to you, and then you're like,
okay, we're gonna change it to your younger self.
I don't know. I like both, and I think I've thought about this a lot of times in the past, right? But then when you're here, you're like, oh, there's all these thoughts.
I know, right? There's so many things, right?
I guess, I've never even thought about this one, but this is new to me now, so I think it fits this specific situation. But top thing to think about from being alive, and to me, just like the phrase, you will change, comes to mind. Just like just remembering that, because so much of our struggle is fighting change or worrying about if we're changing or blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, it's kind of just a reminder of like, dude, shit's just happening and you're not stopping life, right? Like it's happening and you're going to change. You're changing by age, you're aging, your friends and relationships are changing, your mind's changing. It's a constant fluid part of the experience. And we try and convince ourselves otherwise. Like you said, that momentary comfort and like, oh, I know it and it's not changing. Well, if you sat here in your apartment and it never changed, eventually it's going to rot and the ceiling's going to fall through or ants are going to come in. Like change is inevitable. Mm-hmm. So being emotionally prepared and accepting of that, I think helps a lot. And it's a good reminder of how to live your life, right? In accordance with what you can't affect,
mm-hmm.
right?
Totally, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can't stop the change, dude. So embrace it.
Can't stop the change.
Can't stop it.
Yeah, man. That's good question.
Dude,
Made me think of a new thing to think about.
Man. Yes. Yeah. Damn, dude. This has been an awesome conversation, man.
Yeah.
We've been talking now for almost 2.5 hours.
I was wondering, are we getting to Joe Rogan period? Cool.
But it seemed like effortless though.
Yeah.
But I mean, we're like good friends.
Yeah.
So I wonder if like having people on who I don't know as well, if we could go for as long. But who knows, man?
It depends on the person. I'm sure you could.
It definitely depends on the person.
But yeah, definitely for us, it was less effort. Like probably from your perspective, it's less effort now for me than it will be for someone you don't know.
Totally.
So
yeah. This is just like, all right, let's just talk.
I think you did a good job though. Like it was just like the right amount of questions. Because really, too much structure, I agree, will fuck it all up and it feels contrived.
It's not natural. Because I like the idea of having the questions at the end.
Yeah.
Where it's like, all right, we're just having a conversation, just it goes wherever we want it to go, and then bam, at the end, here's just like some good things to give it, the audience insights into like how your brain works and who you are and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's usually the goal, right? To see how that person thinks, how they function, how they're processing information. That's the useful shit, right? Like, if I want to pick up a trait that you have, I got to understand not what the trait is, but I got to understand how you're getting to that thought process, and just So that's a goal to pull out of someone.
Yeah. All right, dude. Here's the real last question.
Oh, fuck. Yeah.
What would you name this show or this podcast? What would you name it? Based on what you know.
Well, whatever I could go a few different directions with it. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, if you wanted to kind of go the wholesome, just like your identity and who you are, I feel like the zine is a good, because it's tied to like a zine anyways, you know, like a magazine. I think that's cool. But if you want more context outwardly, man, that's a good question. This is like almost like business planning again. Like think of like what's a good name.
Yeah, right.
I know, because like Tim Ferriss talks about when he was naming the 4-Hour Work Week, right? He went and beta tested all these names on social media and saw what people received the most well and did a data analytics approach. Honestly, I would say if you're trying to be successful with it, it's probably your best approach. Come up with 3 to 5 and then run them, and just like you got to go with the most effective one. But
That's a good idea.
Yeah, definitely do that. So that's the name, data analytics approach. No, let me think on that for like, give me 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm realizing I would have to spend more time to actually like, because you know, 1/10 of 1% of all the ideas you throw out are like functionally useful ideas, right? All the rest is just stuff you got to pick out and decide to not entertain. I was listening to one of the founders of Instagram on Tim Ferriss yesterday, and they were just saying that of like, a lot of people just think they're going to get shit and not have bad ideas coming along with it. You're going to get what you want. You're going to come up with good ideas. It's like, no, dude, like he was saying like less than 1 in 100, but like that's even really unlikely. You have to throw out so many ideas and just keep getting them down on paper, and then eventually one of them matters, and that's where. So it's
I'll make a list.
My brain just starts like we've done before. You just vomit. You got to let your brain. You got to unblock the plug and just let out the shit, even if it's not good. And then
stop the self filtering for a few minutes and just like let it roll.
Yeah. I would say don't use the word podcast though. Elevate that to something.
I'm wondering as well, like if a podcast is like just too played out and just like, oh, it's just another podcast. I almost like it being like a show or.
Dude, you know what I like? Have you seen probably not, but on Netflix, David Letterman has his show, My Next Guest Needs No Introduction.
I have not seen it, but I've heard about it.
Okay, you should watch one episode. I just watched, who was it? Oh, George Clooney. He's from Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area, which is really entertaining episode, because he talks about Augusta, Kentucky, where Chuck and Diana are having their wedding later this year because her parents bought a historic home there. Anyways, it's weird how like the same shit happens in one day, like two things that connect. But in his show, the way he frames the whole interview, he sits on a stage facing, chairs.
Yeah.
And then there's an audience. And then he has all these pre-made clips where they go and do stuff together, him and the guests. Like they go play basketball, or they go to a shooting range, or they do this, or they do that. And I don't know, there's some depth of experience to that I really like, because it's like it's not just an interview, like you said, it's a show. You're seeing them interact in their moment, and then it ties to all of it. So it's well produced.
Damn.
It's very thoughtful and well produced, but maybe a minimal version of that where you have some shots of like you and the person walking around the neighborhood, or doing something, or like some sort of activity could be
like
cool.
Doing a drug together. Like, all right, we're both going to take this drug.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's been done, but yeah.
It's played out.
Hot sauce.
Exactly.
But yeah, I don't know. That's what you got to think on, is like what you want to do and bring out to people. And are you being novel just to be novel, or I'm always trying to figure out how you can stand out from what currently exists, because it's hard to fight in the fish, with all the other fish that are just like you, if you're a big fish though, So, but something about, I don't know, it's this meta idea of like your larger picture of what you want out of your life, and then the smaller day-to-day shit. Both of those things together seems like what your
life talk.
Yeah.
One idea that came to mind is like data dump, which is kind of like, oh, you have all these ideas and we're just like expressing the ideas that are on our mind. So it's like the data that we're just like have sitting here, like no like huge structure necessarily, but it might sound like, oh, it's just like a dump. And maybe I don't want that word associated with it. I don't know.
Yeah, you'd have to think about that.
But I have written down some ideas. So I definitely need to revisit those and then like brainstorm a few more.
Well, yeah, if you go with the zine, then, $20
This makes sense, dude.
copyright fee, nothing.
Yeah, I know. You should get
major.
like 20% for the rest of the time on all proceeds.
It's true. I get to meet all the guests.
Mm-hmm.
Once
I have David Goggins on, I'll have you as the third host.
Yeah.
Or the second host. It'll be the third person.
Yeah. I'll give David Goggins some punches in the kidney,
Yeah.
He likes the pain.
He'll just take it and be like, oh, I love suffering. Oh, give me more.
Like, we need you to interview well, David. I was like, yes. Yeah. So
hell yeah. Well, dude, thanks so much for coming over, man, and doing this with me.
Dude, this is great, man, and I hope you keep doing it, dude. Even just for its own existence, right?
Even if it's just like a moment in time, like a time capsule of this moment, and we can look back years later and like, oh, it's on YouTube. It has 50 views, but dude, this is so sweet to watch. This is awesome.
Yeah. Surely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe this will be the only one. If that happens, that's cool
Dude,
too.
that'd be
And
sweet too.
It
I
goes
love it.
platinum. If we could sell 10 million 99-cent downloads of this interview.
Dude, yeah. This interview is definitely worth 99 cents. Come on. Come on.
And that's another convention I would think about questioning. Is it an interview? Is it a discussion? Is it...
I like it being a discussion.
Yeah.
For the most part.
I threw out interview because...
I like the idea of I'm kind of leading it a little bit.
Yeah.
Like I'm kind of like, asking them certain questions or like, oh, you just said something interesting. Let me kind of riff on that. And like, what do you think about that? And
Yep.
so, but something more natural, I think I would enjoy. Something a little more conversational.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it does just seem like, all right, what do you think about this? What do you think about this? It's just like a resume or like an application you're filling out. It's just like, seems too stiff.
Yeah. And I think that...
I like to be fluid.
Yeah. Well, and it feels good, right? As long as you don't have the person going on a tangent on irrelevant shit, which
so the
I might have done a little, but
definitely matters.
Mm-hmm.
But I can also edit this as much as I want. I think I'm gonna keep the editing to an absolute minimum,
Mm-hmm.
just to save myself a headache. Unless there's like, okay, we should definitely edit that out.
Gotcha.
So yeah,
So length is good. Like people want.
dude, I'll just keep it full form. I don't even care.
Yeah.
People only watch like 3 minutes of it. They're like, oh my god, it's 2.5 hours. Oh well.
Yeah. There's a lot more
Screw
going
it.
on than just
Exactly.
trying to get people to watch something. It's for you. It's for us. It's
And for other guests, I could see it being only like, 60 minutes, 90 minutes.
yeah.
So
Yeah, it's interesting. Well, and I was just going to say, I think it's okay to be scripted and ask questions, especially when you're asking questions like most of your questions were really good in that it was like, when like Tim Ferriss is great at this, the guest is like, damn, that is a good question, actually. If it's a really fucking good question that isn't just like, so tell me about your time being in the Navy or like, it's like fucking pulling out the good juicy shit, then it's like, it's not a problem. It doesn't feel contrived, so.
Mm-hmm. Sweet.
Well done.
Thanks, man.
Yeah, it was good.
Awesome. Well, let's wrap this thing up. Everybody, my guest, Ronaldo. He's the man. Ronaldo, where can people find you online in the real world? RonnieG.com.
This YouTube video is the majority of my online presence at this point. So, yeah, I don't like to add a lot of people I don't know on Facebook or anything.
Yeah,
so please
I
don't.
Yeah.
Unless you know me, you're probably already friends with me. If not,
yeah, same with me. If I don't know you, I'm not going to add you. Like, who are you? I don't think we've met.
Yeah, I'll message you like, where did we meet? Cabo, 2012.
And like, I was just blackout.
Yeah, I was blacked out. Yeah. Free alcohol. What are you gonna do?
Hell yeah, dude! You can't turn it down, man. You cannot turn that shit down.
Nope.
All right, cool, dude.
Thanks,
Rock
man.
and roll. Yeah, thank you.
Until next time.
Until next time. Bam. And it's official.
And it plays all the music. What?
We the music goes, we dance it out.